This is Better Sports Live.
Anderson's got it. And Edwards, who tonight struggled 3 of 16 and 3 of 17. The Los Angeles Lakers will play the 2 seed.
Atlanta advances to the NBA playoffs. 116 to 105.
This is Better Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla on Better Sports Network.
That's right. Here we are. It is Wednesday night. You get to spend the next 3 hours right here on Better Sports Live on the Better Sports Network, now streaming on all platforms. I want to bring you in because my co-host and I have not seen each other 2 weeks because last week you were busy doing other things. And now here we are, Rick Kamla. How are you and how you been?
Lisa Ann, you look great. It is so great to be back on the air with you and hearing your voice and catching up off the air a little bit. Wow. Here we go. Stacked up with some Mad Dog shows and stuff like that last week and couldn't swing it, but I'm so happy to be back. We have so much to talk about. I'm looking up here at Mark Jones and Doris Burke. I love them both. They're going to be calling the Raptors and Bulls game. We got 2 play-in tournament games tonight. I know you're going to take us into NFL news. Major League Baseball's going on LA, and I'm up to 10 teams, by the way. I got team number shamed by a guest we had a couple of weeks ago, and I went ahead and took the plunge on one more dynasty league. And yes, I like my team, but I'm up to 10. So a nice round number. I'm 10 fantasy baseball leagues, but it's great to be back on the air with you, LA.
I'd like to thank TNT for the sound when we came into the show. 10 leagues, and I got to tell you something that nobody's really realized yet, Rick Kamla. Nobody even knows about, but I skated the bullet. Yes, I will do DFS, and today I realized I didn't send out the DFS challenge yesterday. Kind of out of sync, when you're not on for a week, then we kind of lose, but I skated the bullet, and I'm not in any season-long fantasy baseball leagues, and it feels oh so good.
We tried. We really, really tried. We did. We tried our best, and you wiggled off the hook. And you are just swimming right now. You are not about to become bait for a barracuda or a shark or a marlin or something. You're not. You're free. You're good.
I'm free. I am free. So I got to ask you, what's it like for you when you've got to get up that early and do Mad Dog in the morning, and then you do your afternoon show? Do you go to bed earlier? Like, how does Rick Kamla adjust? Because I know with the, playoffs ahead, last week you were watching all these late NBA games. Lakers games mattered, right? So you're staying up. How do you do it?
So it's a funny question. A couple of those games, LA, when I was doing the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday run on Mad Dog mornings, I would go to bed, DVR the fourth quarter, DVR the second half, and watch it while I was on the show with Chris Plank the next day. Makes it a little bit weird. I mean, I know who won. I'm going to, be boned up before I go to the show. But as opposed to, I start thinking about shutting it down at 1 a.m. on a regular night. So on those nights, I start to think about shutting it down at midnight. That tends to be 30, 45, and 130, 145 typically for me. And then I take a nap in between shows. But it creates a lot of prep work on the beginning on the front side because I basically have my NBA rundown put to bed before I go to bed, do the Mad Dog show, take the snap in the middle of the shows, and then I tweak it when I wake up. So it's a blessed process. It's a grind, but it's very, very fun. And I accept these blessings, LA.
But it is a grind, right? Because you have that you got to be up super early. And that's a thing. And you got to be awake.
I don't wake up at 5:30, LA.
And the show starts at 6, right?
Uh-huh.
See, you're lucky you can wake up a half an hour before and be ready to go. I need at least an hour to get my brain able to communicate with others. So that's a thing for me. But what's a thing for everybody in the room? Great to see Scott. It's great to see Better Boss. Everybody up in here in the chat. We got to get to these Ricky's props. We got to talk a lot of NBA, a lot happening. But we got some games tonight. We got some excitement in Los Angeles. We've got a lot going on. But what you've got here on tonight's Ricky's props, you got DeMar DeRozan at Toronto, under 21.5. The number's -110. Let's talk about the why right here. We should be throwing our money on this prop.
And you know that I'm a DeMar DeRozan guy. I'm a lot of times an over guy. I try to look for overs, but in this case, LA, did my digging and prepping for our show, prepping for NBA radio, and I discovered a couple of really, really bad matchups in this game. And so I'm going to bang on him. And I know you'll tee me up for the other one here in a minute. But DeMar DeRozan tonight, guys, under 21.5 points. You're saying, how? Why? It's so small. How could you go under that number? It's like doing the limbo on the beach, right? 3 meetings against Toronto this year. He's averaging 14 points per game, 54% shooting, which is obviously very good. Only 8.7 shot attempts per game. Toronto denies the ball, double teams him to the point he doesn't even see the ball. He can't even get shots off, okay? It's a terrible matchup for DeMar. They are determined, LA, the Toronto Raptors, his former team, to not let him come into their crib and beat them, okay? And it's obviously a very good strategy as well. DeMar DeRozan is Chicago's best player, but they're like, nope, not tonight. Levine can beat us. Vucevic can beat us. You can't beat us. And I don't see them changing that. They were 2-1 against Chicago in the regular season with this method. Toronto allows the 7th fewest points to power forwards. That is DeRozan's new position with Caruso and Beverly now in the starting lineup. And so look, he's 24.5 points per game on the season, LA, DeMar. He's 3 points per game under his average tonight. So it's a big drop off, but there's a big reason why. And it's the matchup. Vegas knows it's a buzzsaw, so I'm going under, LA.
I like it. The next one you got is Fred VanVleet versus Chicago under 18.5 points. The number is minus 160.
So this is being banged on quite a bit here, 160. This is a bad matchup for Fred VanVleet, as bad as DeRozan's. Chicago allows the 3rd fewest points to point guards. Let's start there, okay? That's already wow, I want to either stay away or go under. Caruso and Beverly are a buzzkill. They forced Fred VanVleet into a horrible game in their last meeting, LA. He had 3 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, pretty standard there. 1 of 11 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3. Inefficient, and shot selections were down. Fred VanVleet played well against Chicago in the first 2 meetings, but that was before Patrick Beverly got there, and he's completely changed the component for Chicago. So it's going to be on others for the Raptors, Barnes, Trent, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, to get it done tonight, because I see Fred VanVleet in dime mode. I do not see him in score mode, so I'm going under on him as well.
All right, I like these two so far. You got Nikola Vucevic at Toronto over 25.5 assists. 2.5. I'm sorry. Over 2.5 assists. The number is minus 130.
So I hit, these are so random, right? Like he's a center, he gets points, he gets rebounds, so assists, right? Like it's so random. I hit on Bam Adebayo last night, LA, in a really quiet, drab game for him. He had 4 assists. The number was 2.5. He came in assisting very well against Atlanta head-to-head. Vooch assists very well head-to-head with Toronto. And so I'm gonna ride this wave right here, going off the beaten path. It's a small, tiny number for us. He's got a good matchup against Jakob Poeltl tonight. In 3 meetings against Toronto, LA, Vooch has gone 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Way over this number. 4.7 assists per game to be exact. 3.2 assists per game on the season. And LA is you watch and I watch and everybody listening watches. Here's how I see this going. DeRozan's out high, double team comes, passes the ball to the middle. That's Vucevic, probably at the nail, which is the free throw line. He then tries to advance the ball to the other side, the free or weak side of the court, where there's not, the defense is loaded up on DeMar. So they're going to try to go swing to the weak side and get an open 3, get some driving action off of that. But that's going to put Vucevic in a hub role to move the ball and I think get assists.
So let's talk about your predictions here. I see that you got some against the spreads for the play-in tournament games, and we should also talk about what you think of this first round of matchups. But let's go first. Raptors -6 at home versus the Bulls.
Let's see. Let me get to my notes right here. So this is all about DeRozan. And DeRozan has to go in to Toronto tonight and rock and roll, I think, for the Bulls to win or cover. Okay, we're at 6. I'll lay the points. A little rich, but I'll lay them. I feel like I'm on the winning side here. And I think the nightcap LA is going to be very, very close. New Orleans and Oklahoma City. I don't know. Toronto may win this one by 9 or 10 points. They won the regular season 2-1. I think they've got a formula to beat the Bulls in terms of how they defend DeMar DeRozan. And it's cool if Chicago minimizes Fred VanVleet. You've got all the other options that I talked about. And VanVleet can impact the game defensively, passing the ball, good rebounder for a guard. He can get a lot of other stuff done. So, can Vucevic and Levine go into Toronto and kind of carry this thing and overcome the bad matchup for DeMar DeRozan? I don't believe they can. I believe Chicago's soft. LA, they're a terrible road team. Terrible. They've been better with Patrick Beverley, but overall they've been kind of a rollover and die road team. So I like Toronto tonight. I do. I got them winning by about 8 or 9 points in this game. So I'm on that. Also, just quickly, I'm on Gary Trent over 12.5 points. I wanted to give that to the people as well. Last meeting, he had 19 LA against Chicago. And this year against Chicago, averaging almost 17 points per game. He's plus almost 2 points per game at home. So it's like a role player. Our numbers nice and tidy here at 12.5. And I do like the over on Gary Trent Jr. Over 12.5.
All right, let's talk about who's already going somewhere and what we know. So we know the Lakers are going to match up in round 1 right here with the Memphis Grizzlies. We know Jaw's been on quite a tear. What's your expectations like? Do you feel if the Lakers can get out of this, they can make it further down the road in the playoffs? Or do you think they're not going to be able to get out of this matchup with Memphis?
LA, I love that you went there. Let's just dive right in, right? Let's just dive right in. We got the props delivered. We got everything's out on the table for our Toronto and Chicago game here. I got the Lakers, LA. I got the Lakers.
Do.
And this is not – go ahead.
So the momentum that they're picking up towards this time of the season, you're feeling really real about. Again, we always say as long as Anthony Davis is healthy, as long as LeBron is healthy. But I think at this point, whether you're feeling 100% or not, you're going to get out there on the court and play, or you're going home.
I love that you went to momentum because I feel like that's a factor here. I like the matchups for the Lakers against the Grizzlies. We can get into that a little bit. But the Lakers are the best team in the Western Conference since the All-Star break. The best, number one. They're playing killer Grammy defense. I believe they're the number one defensive rated team since they brought in their guys from the trade deadline.
Can we make one exception? Did you watch that game against the Clippers last week? What happened? That was like the worst. It was the sloppiest game, kind of both sides, but really LeBron sloppy. Like it was a nasty game. I was not thrilled with it.
I wasn't either. I picked the Lakers to win that night and break the streak. I think it's now 11 in a row. Pardon me. The Clippers have beaten the Lakers. Ty Lue has never lost as the head coach of the Clippers to the Los Angeles Lakers.
So crazy.
So crazy. They chose Frank Vogel over T. Lue. They disrespected T. Lue. And now look at what's going on. And obviously the Lakers are in a good way with Darvin Ham. And they want to chip with Frank Vogel. So it didn't actually work out that badly. But LA, in terms of momentum, okay, the Grizzlies, they were kind of like resting guys, and the last couple of weeks they were 3-4 in their last 7 games. The Lakers, like we talked about, they were 9-2 in their last 11 in the regular, won the PIT game last night, so that's now 10-2 in the last 12. They're a freight train coming in here, playing offense, playing defense, sharing the ball. There's a love fest. They've got skill. They've got shooting. They got it all, man. They got a bench. Okay, like when you think of a starting 5 that fits, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Yep. It fits like this. I mean, it's perfect. It's like 5 fingers in a perfectly fitting glove. And they've got layers beyond that. So, but I think LA, Anthony Davis is going to feast on Xavier Tillman with Steven Adams being out. And I don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. or Dylan Brooks are going to they're not good matchups. They're not good size, strength, athletic matchups for LeBron James. And they will try their best, but I don't think it's going to be good enough.
So what do you think the strengths are overall for the series? And second layer to this question, 2-part question here. How many games can the Lakers get it done in? Because at this point, efficiency matters as well. Why do you want to drag this out to be a 7-game series, which you don't? You want the rest, especially on these bodies that have some wear and tear on them. How quickly can they get this done, and how quickly do you think they'll get it done? And what's the weakness they're going to attack other than Steven Adams being out for Memphis?
Okay. What other weakness are they going to attack? Let me think about that for a second. Because Memphis doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses. They're an elite defensive team. I would just look. It's they do have wing depth. Okay, you took me deep into the annals of my brain right here, but they are great off the bench. They are point guard with Tyus Jones. but they're not great off the bench, especially defensively on the wings with Konkar and Luke Kennard and guys like this. So I feel like Dennis Schroeder can exploit that. He comes off the Laker bench, of course. I feel like
they have a scrappy bench. There's
Troy
no
Brown
doubt.
can exploit that. Malik Beasley coming off the Laker bench
Yep.
can exploit that. So I do like the Laker sort of 6 through 10 group more than the Memphis 6 through 10 group. Now, you mentioned how quickly can they get it done. It's going 7, LA. Like, Memphis is the best home team in the NBA. The best, number one, the best home record in the NBA. So the Lakers are going to have to get 1. You're not going to get 2 in Memphis. You're not. You got to get 1 in Memphis, and it's got to be one of the first 2. You go back home to LA. You win to go up 3-1. You got to hold serve. Big if.
Yeah.
Game 5 goes to Memphis and the do or die. Oh, my God, we got to save the season game. Game 6, LA comes back and gets it done. It could go 6, LA. Okay. But I don't think LA is going to sweep those 2 games 3 and 4. I think Memphis is going to get one of those. I don't think home court advantage is going to matter until we get to game 5. I think they're going to go split, and then home from there.
Boy, that's tough, man. This is not how you want to start off the playoffs. You don't want to be playing all 7 games, the travel, everything else. Like, that is not ideal. So let's go. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about the East first rounds and what team, the Hawks game last night, how this is all playing out for Boston, how our opinions have changed? Let's just start with Brooklyn and Philadelphia. Does Brooklyn stand a chance to make it past 5 games here? Philly isn't that great, but Brooklyn's way worse. I can't believe they're here. I can't believe they're here. They've been playing so scrappy. It's almost unbelievable for what they've been left with.
So let me ask you this. How captivated is Manhattan with the Brooklyn Nets? And I know it's behind enemy lines. Manhattan is Knicks country, and obviously Brooklyn has the Nets. But is Manhattan buzzing at all about the Nets, or is it just Knicks?
It's just Knicks, really. I mean, the Nets really lost interest as they were going through the drama with kind of being a super team that couldn't win. And I don't think everybody realized how valuable the pieces were that they got in that trade, bringing Spencer Dinwiddie back. Like, they got enough pieces, but they're not the names that everyone's used to here. And with the Knicks playing well, I just think there's too much going on, right? You've got baseball back, you got hockey back. You don't hear people here talking about the Nets as much as you do like people from New Jersey or people from other places that would be their closer team. So not as much excitement for sure, but shocked at what they'd gone through over the past 6 months to be where they are right now, facing off with Philadelphia.
I'm so glad I asked because I wanted to get the vibe on that.
By the way, vibe in the city right now, it was 80 degrees today. It is already summer. The past 2 days have been so crazy. It is no spring. It has gone directly to summer. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 like you're playing Monopoly. And here we are. So that's a random fun fact I thought I'd tell you about. I'm always afraid to go to baseball games in April. And I'm like, I could be going to baseball games right now. It's nice enough out.
You guys had better weather than we did down in Florida today. I can tell you that. It was windy and kind of a little bit rainy and stuff like that. But don't cry for us down here in paradise. Don't cry. Don't cry for us. Okay, the Nets and the Sixers you want to take me to. So LA, I delivered a couple of days ago in my Monday short the Sixers to beat the Nets 4-2, and I believe it was plus 300. But kind of because it's our job, right? Okay, who's going to win in how many games? Okay, let's do that and then apply it to the odds. And obviously, for pinpointing the series winner and the games, you get really good odds on that. So I like Brooklyn to get 2 games, LA, because I just don't trust Philadelphia. I don't, especially in Brooklyn. And like you said, Brooklyn's scrappy. They're deep. They're not just we're happy to be here. Like, they got dogs in that program. Dinwiddie and Mikal Bridges are super underrated. Both guys could have 30, and it would not surprise me one bit. Nicholas Claxton is 5th on my most improved player list. You've got all these defensive dogs, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal. You've got shooters, Joe Harris, Seth Curry. They got dudes, man. They really do. Yep. That's why they held off Miami to be in the 6-hole instead of the play-in tournament. So I'm giving the Nets 2 games, and that would be my betting recommendation as well.
All right, let's keep it out here and then talk about Atlanta, Boston. Does Atlanta have a chance, or is it a lucky day that they're even in this round of the beginning of the tournament?
The latter. The latter.
Yeah.
Here, we were talking today, and if you want to like sidebar off on Trae Young, I don't know if you've been following
I have.
some of the drama. Okay, so if you want to like sidebar off of that,
there's been a lot of great NBA drama, no doubt. It's been an
Oh my
amazing soap opera
LA.
on the daily, but Trae Young is definitely feeding into mixed emotions right now, and that's not the normal part of the conversation. He's always been very likable and very liked.
Until maybe now.
Yes.
So let me, because I have a personal history with this, okay? Which I'll impart on you in a moment. I got Boston winning in 5, and I will give Atlanta 1 game. LA, it might be a sweep, okay? It would not surprise me at all if this was a sweep. I'm trying to click over and see what the odds are on that situation I was talking about with the number of games, because I'd like to go do that for the Celtics and Hawks. But here's the thing, LA. Boston is just at a totally different level, a completely 1,000 different level from Atlanta. Boston's my pick to win it all. Atlanta has one and done written all over them. They were 41 and 41 in the regular season. They caught, to me, the Miami Heat are the weirdest team in the league, and it's not close. They're just weird. They're funky. They make no sense. They're way too talented to be this weird and come out that flat. It was a home game.
So inconsistent.
It drives me crazy.
For the Celtics, this is such an ideal first round because it's not going to be a power struggle like what the Lakers are going to face with the Memphis Grizzlies, right? This is a situation where, look, you're not going to get sloppy. This isn't a chance where you're going to throw it away. But the Celtics want this on every level, and not that the Hawks don't, but they just can't. So for the Celtics, this is a great run for round 1 of the playoffs.
I love where your head is at, because they, in the second round, are going to have a battle probably with Philly, probably going 6 games. Then they're going to have a battle with Milwaukee, assuming that happens. That one's probably going 7. And then you've got the finals, and this is, of course, their game plan. So a 4 or 5 game first round series against Atlanta would be completely ideal. It would give them several days off to gear up for round 2. So I love where your head is at with that. And they don't need any extra motivation for this. They are a team that, literally, my pick of Boston is because of talent and coaching and defense and shooting and all that stuff. But it's the motivation they got. They got a chip here and they got a chip here, okay? Because they lost last year. And there are a million examples of teams in any sport coming back with redemption in mind and sort of that on a mission. We're on a freaking mission to win this thing. And they do, okay? And it happens a lot in the NBA specifically. So I think Boston's going to be powered by that. LA, Chris Middleton is not right, and he's not going to get right. And that is going to lead to Boston beating Milwaukee. And Boston might beat Milwaukee even with a healthy Chris Middleton. But if Chris Middleton's half a dude like he is right now, come on, man. I don't even know if that series would go 7. But, to start out with Atlanta like this, Boston just has so much more grime and grit and resolve and backbone. Atlanta to me is soft and talented. They are talented. We saw it last night, right? DeJounte and Trae and Bogey Bogdanovic and Capella had 21 rebounds. They're a talented freaking team. They just don't have a heart.
And they've got to go and play at the Garden. Like, they got to be in
good
Boston.
luck with that.
Like,
good
that's
luck
not
with
great
that, right?
either. And same with Brooklyn having to go. I don't know if you saw this, but it was dollar hot dog day yesterday, the Phillies game. So what do Philly fans do? They buy up a bunch of the dollar hot dogs and then they just throw them. So they're throwing them all around the stands. Like, people are getting whacked with these hot dogs. Philly fans, do better. That could go down for the Brooklyn Nets there. Let's go to the New York Knicks. New York Knicks going to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers. Do the Knicks have what it takes? And do you believe that Julius Randle can come back to at least enough form to be out there playing? Because though they played well without him, he is the missing link.
I don't. It sounds like Julius Randle is going to come back and play in this series, LA. We don't know when, though, and we don't know how effective he will be.
Right.
So I'm fading. And look, I would like Cleveland anyway. I would like Cleveland in this series anyway, because of the Donovan Mitchell factor. But this has me even leaning. I've got Cleveland in 7. That's my official prediction here. But we don't know about Julius Randle. And so if he comes back for game 3, that first New York Knicks home game, and they're down 0-2, and I don't know, maybe he comes back and returns his ankle, God forbid, we could have a shorter series. But I think Randall's going to come back and help the cause. I just don't think he's going to be full Julius Randle. The guy's a dog. He's a warrior. I freaking love him. He tried to play every game. He wants to play every minute of every game. That's my guy, right? He plays through all kinds of little nicks and scratches where a lot of guys don't. But the deal here, LA, is New York going to Cleveland and winning. Okay, I doubt that can happen. Cleveland has an awesome home court advantage. Cleveland is the best defensive team in the Eastern Conference. Okay, elite on that side of the ball. They've got star power with Jared Allen, all-star, Darius Garland, all-star, Donovan Mitchell, superstar, and Evan Mobley, a young superstar. They've got role players with LeVert and Isaac Okoro and all these other guys. I'm a Cav appreciator, and I got them beating the Knicks. I got them beating them in 7.
Well, I will say this, as much as New Yorkers are excited for the Knicks to go for this first round, everyone truly believes that this is it too. So you're not alone on an island saying that they're not going any further than this series.
So people in New York are walking around like, yo, Cleveland's got us? Or like, you know what I mean?
It's just like, hey, we're happy to be here. We know we probably won't go any further. You know what I mean? A little pessimistic. Just
wow.
like,
Pessimistic and realistic. Wow.
If it happens, it's exciting, but it's, it's like a Dallas Cowboys fan feeling like we're going to go further. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so they're waiting on the other shoe to drop because they've been let down so much. And trust me, as a Minnesota and Atlanta sports fan, I know a whole lot about that.
Now, would you like to give your thoughts on Trae Young? Does he need to leave Atlanta after this season? And where has this turned? Because there's 2 important stories I've been following this week. The Zion presser was kind of devastating, right? He just seeing his body language, hearing him really seems defeated. But then Trae Young kind of flipping this switch of like, wow, this is not the Trae Young we knew 4 or 5 years ago. What do you see as different here with Trae?
So I've been a Trae Young guy since he was at Oklahoma. Fell in love with him there. Loved the grit, this little dude. I mean, he's a little dude. And he bounds off of big men, and he's got strength to finish. And he's defying the odds, right? Not unlike, fellow Oklahoma homie, Kyler Murray, right? Defying the odds at his size and all this kind of stuff. But it's because they're spectacularly special players. Mm-hmm. And I don't know Trae, but I interviewed him a whole bunch in Atlanta, and he was so chill and down to earth. And there was an aw shucks Midwestern kind of tone to him. And I liked it, LA, and I liked it. Now I have not interviewed Trae Young in a long time. Okay. But when Nate McMillan got fired, I did some digging. Okay. Because I smelled something. Lloyd Pierce got fired on Trae Young being there. And then Nate McMillan a couple of years later, midstream, and he had issues with Nate McMillan. Nate McMillan drew a line in the sand over a shoot around that he wanted Trae to participate in. Trae said no. Nate said, okay, what are we doing here? Either you're coming off the bench tonight because you just shined me here in front of everybody, or you can take the ball and go home and we'll just do this without you. Trae Young chose the option of going home and not playing that night, okay? Which it was not received well in that locker room. I can promise you that. I was told at the time by a source, LA, that it was Trae Young versus everybody.
It was it's a little petty. Okay, it's a little petty. Like he was driving home to Pettyville. Like, I'm gonna stick to my guns. Like, what favor is this doing to my teammates, to myself? But you know what? You know that feeling when you're like 18, you're somebody tells you to do something, you automatically do the opposite, just out of spite. That was petty and spiteful, and started the unraveling of what we thought was a consistent attitude in his playing time with his teammates in his situation.
That was the start of it. So that alerted me to, we may have a guy that's kind of uncoachable, and it's going to be rough for coaches to coexist there, kind of like Kyler Murray in Arizona. Hello. But let's get it back to Trae Young here. So I checked with my source at the time. I said, is it Trae Young versus Nate McMillan? He said, it's Trae Young versus everyone. And I said, even DeJounte Murray is homie? They wanted to play with each other. They're good friends. He said, even DeJounte Murray. Okay. So to let you know, and this source is super, super plugged in with the team. So to advance the story now, it's come out. There's been a variety of reports. Heck, the owner, Tony Ressler, with the athletic reporter on the Hawks, basically left the door open to trading Trae Young this summer. And when pushed by the reporter, it's an opportunity to clarify himself. He basically said, look, the GM is the GM. It's his job. Okay. Hello. All right. And then there's been subsequent reporting that the Hawks are going, maybe look at, depending on this year's playoff run, if they're going to explore trading Trae Young and this kind of stuff. None of these conversations would be held by us or them right now if Trae Young were a perfect choir boy citizen, okay? And it was smooth sailing and it was just whistling Dixie down the road, a coachable, other people first type of dude, okay? So I don't know exactly, so I don't want to go any farther than that, but what I do know is we wouldn't be having these conversations if it was smooth sailing. It is not smooth sailing. Why isn't it smooth sailing? I don't know, but we've had 2 coaches blown out and that dude is still there, okay? Yeah. And he's a fabulous player. He was amazing last night against Miami. He's going to have moments here against Boston. He was very good against Boston this year, went 30-10 over the head-to-head matchups. But here's the thing, LA. He's kind of in it right now. And when he fully realizes and looks in the mirror and understands, Joe, I might need to make a couple of tweaks here, okay? He's 24 years old. So I'm not going to super hard bang on this dude and judge him and put him in a box because he's 24. If he were 29, a totally different conversation. But you're 24. I'm not calling him this, but I was a dumbass at 24. Okay.
And you got to remember too, at 24, with so many people coming at you and so many opinions about you and social media and maybe not getting as far in the seasons as you'd like to as a player, there's like layers and layers and layers of this, which is expedited in a 5-year period of time as a player kind of develops and is exposed to more to what other people may not be able to relate to in 30 years. Like you have so many people at you. And so there could be maybe a wall he's putting up. There's friction there. There's something, but maybe a fresh start is really what he needs. And to be in a home where he feels, hey, we're going to go further. We're more competitive, that kind of a thing as well. But what's been interesting for me is I'm watching him and Rudy Gobert get more shit.
Oh boy.
We'll talk about that after the break.
Oh boy, I like where we're going here.
Get more shit than Ja Morant. And look, I love Ja. I get it. He came out. He said he was sorry. He goes back. But the Ja Morant episode seemed a little bit more serious than these other things. And we will touch on Gobert. But what I'll say about it is this is the time of the season where you're kind of sick of each other. You're teammates, but man, you've been traveling and seeing each other together for months. Do people put into account why we take vacations? When people were going into a workplace every day, 5 days a week, and you get those 2 or 3 weeks a year, it's really important to get away from your coworkers. People get on each other's nerves. This is an intense time. There's a burnout factor. There's something you're carrying, but there's a little bit of pettiness there that's probably making him hold on, something he'll grow out of when he's 27, 28 years old. But we will continue the NBA conversation, talk about the rest of this series, take your messages right here in the chat. And yes, we will get to some baseball as well. Before we do, I want to remind you all, of course, last weekend, Rick, was Masters weekend for me. I not only watched the Masters, I did it while I packed up my closet and took all my winter clothes and put them in storage, brought all my summer clothes up. So I had the Masters going on every TV.
And you were nesting.
And I was testing, but I had my earbuds in on my iPad and everything was synced to the exact same time. So I could have my iPad actually in the closet. There's not a moment where I wasn't visually able to step out and see what, but I was listening the whole time. And that's what the Tour Junkies were doing as well. Golf talk is fun with the Tour Junkies. Now playing on demand, David Barnett and Pat Perry look back at Jon Rahm winning the Masters and preview the RBC heritage from the betting and daily fantasy sports perspective. Tee off with the Tour Junkies, now playing on the Bettor Sports Network app. We will be back. You're listening to Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here on Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Bettor Sports Network. Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Bartlett picks the perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right out, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson the carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the bank, and you're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line. Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer!
Pitched by Downing, swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Bettor Sports Network.
We are back right here, Lisa and Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live. Before we get to the continuing conversation about where we think these playoffs are going, I'm going to ask you about a game tonight. What's more likely, the Pelicans or the Thunder win tonight's play-in tournament game?
The Pelicans, but think by the hair on their chinny chin chin. This one's going to be close, LA. I like OKC plus the 5.5. I do think the Pelicans are going to win. This also, I'm not an over-under guy, but I'm telling you, these teams both matched up offensively very well against one another. Ingram got his numbers. Pardon me. CJ McCollum got his numbers. Jonas Valanciunas got his numbers. Trey Murphy was a 17 a game with really efficient scoring. On the other side, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaged 33 against New Orleans this year. Jalen Williams got his numbers, the hotshot rookie. Josh Giddey was very, very good head up. So I think it's going to be a really fun, exciting offensive game. I think the game we're watching right now, Toronto and Chicago, at least coming in, and it's kind of going according to form, which I thought it would be a little bit more on the low scoring side. And so far kind of working out that way. 28-20 Toronto certainly not having a low scoring first quarter. But I ultimately, home court advantage, LA, I think is going to win this game for New Orleans because it's very evenly matched. There's not like an excess of firepower over here and a decrease over here. I think both teams are going to be on the same page tonight. It's going to come down to a one-possession situation, and I will go with the home court with the New Orleans Pelicans.
While we're on the topic, let's talk about Zion. You know, the kid, I don't know if you saw the YouTube video that came out yesterday, the press conference. He looks like he's lost a lot of his confidence. And again, here we are. We're in this world where we don't want to talk about, everybody wants to talk about bullying, but yet everybody on social media calls him fat. Okay. Like, okay, we could say he's a larger bodied kid that has a slower metabolism. We could say this so many different ways. He did put on a bit of weight, but that happens when you're not able to be as active because you're recovering from an injury. And he's a big kid, man. He's a big guy. So What's it going to take? Do you see him playing again this season? I'm worried if he doesn't play this season, his confidence is even going to be worse last year. I feel like he needs to get out there, have an impact, and feel that love again.
I agree. There's a combo platter of problems going on here. I feel like New Orleans treats their guys too much with kid gloves. I'd have a hard. I don't like Brandon Ingram's quest and zeal and vigor to come back on the court. To me, he's on the softer side. I don't see him fighting through injuries to play. He basically insists on being 100%. And that's not my style. No. I will take 75 from you tonight. You're a max guy. You're one of the most talented players on earth. I'll take 75% from you. You
Sure.
got 75% for it, or you don't? Wow. I was going to like really advance the story, but let me get back to Zion here for a second. It's beyond alarming, LA, what is going on with Zion Williamson. Do you remember, this is random as hell, do you remember the Mountain Dew ad with Zion Williamson and Zach LaVine from about a year ago?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And I always thought to myself, like, why would you guys drink Mountain Dew?
I was thinking the same thing. Obviously, they don't have to drink a drop. They just have to sit there, the bottle in their hand. Ding! But did you notice how thick Zion looked in that commercial?
Yeah, he did. But at the same time, I can say high def camera, they're probably using 8K. That's probably getting out about 30 pounds visually to him.
Okay, all of that is true. But I saw more of Zion than should be there. And that was him during a period of major inactivity coming off of yet another injury.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Same thing. The reports are he's not in shape. Like even if he's healthy, he's just not in shape to play right now. So they don't want to bring him back in and doyoing something else goes haywire. So it's a really complicated, screwy situation.
But we've seen teams in the past. We've seen teams hire the nutritionalist, have the chef taking care of everything, have this program put together. I mean, look, the Tennessee Titans, almost the entire team went plant-based a couple of seasons ago and brought in a plant-based chef. And like, you play for the Patriots, you're getting blood work done to find out what foods give you inflammation. Like there's so many teams that do so many different things to protect their athletes and to help educate their athletes. And I feel like that's a big missing link with Zion as well.
You're right. Okay. Here's what I would like to see. It seems like Zion is the only guy that when he's hurt falls terribly out of shape. Can you think of another guy?
But he puts on weight fast. Like that is not something like his metabolism very different than our metabolism, right? Some people put on weight fast. This is an ongoing issue. And you're correct. It does happen when he's not active, but I feel like his build is someone that needs to be incredibly active and disciplined to be able, and also like clock management. Like he's somebody that probably can't eat food past 8 p.m. at night. And he is.
All of that is, so you're hitting on this. Okay. My point is, and you're helping me make this right here. We're co-making it, is that there's got to be more of a discipline and a stringent approach to his diet. And LA, okay, I get it. You've got a hammy. We've got to get you off your feet. There are ways to work out.
Yeah, you can do the rowing machine.
Rowing machine. Swimming.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't want to hear it. They have weightless situations, right? They have like weightless treadmills now where you can like move and you're not putting any pressure and you're just like moving to keep your body moving and you're working cardio and that kind of thing. And you're taking off calories and weight. Hello. He's losing his way when he is dealing with these major injuries. Okay.
It's also mentally frustrating.
Not happy time. This is not cheat meal time. This is the exact opposite. When you're off your feet, it's not cheat meal time, bro.
But it's also got to be incredibly frustrating. Put yourself in the mind of an athlete. You can't seem to stay healthy for an extended period of time. Each injury breaks your heart a little bit more, takes you away from that fun feeling of being out there and feeling the roar of the crowd and feeling, the excitement of your stats. And as you disconnect from that on repeat, it's sad. It's got to be emotionally vexing.
I'm sure it is. And what he does not need is social media, LA. That, like, get off. Stop reading it. And people say, well, that's easy to say. Well, it is easy to say. It's also easy to do. Pull the plug out. You don't put the plug back in. Why does Zion need social media? The guy is.
But his generation, how old is Zion?
Well, you hit me with that. And of course, they're addicted to it. I'm not saying he is necessarily, but
it's their, it's
left
actually
thumb, left thumb, left thumb, left thumb.
I get it, but it's also
Twitter, right?
it's not just Twitter, it's TikTok, it's Instagram. It is their way of staying connected with the world. I had a really good laugh about a year ago when my photographer, who's now like 24, told me that she only gets news from Twitter, so she gets, the Post or wherever she's getting her articles from. And I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Like, you don't use a news site or anything? I realized, like, well, no, they just go to one place for their thing. Like when they're listening to podcasts, music, and everything, they're at Spotify. They're doing everything on Spotify. Like they're WhatsApp people, and it's just such a part of their lives that it wasn't a part of our lives. I think we have such a hard time relating to the generation that grew up with social media in their life since they got their first phone.
It's a different generation. Okay. You know me, and I'm not mad at them. It's just evolution, man. And I've evolved. I have a smartphone. I have an iPad, all the stuff. I got all this gear in my room, right in my office right now. But I can on Sundays, we did the 5:30, or actually it was a 7:30 hit. I'm not on my phone on Sundays. During football. What do you mean you're not on your phone? You don't check your score? No, I don't check my scores. If I check my scores, I'm missing a play or 7 plays. Okay. No. And I'm not. And then, so there are other times, LA, where, I watch a lot of sports off of DVR. And so I'm on cam time, not real time. Okay. So when I want to not know who won that game, what do? I take my phone, LA, and I go like this. I put it face down so I can't see crap. All right. Because notifications come up. ESPN.
But I'm going to say this.
It says, Kamla, we just ruined your game, telling you who won the game you're watching, and you're 2 quarters behind.
I get that. But like during NFL games, it's so helpful because you're getting instant injury updates. You're getting instantaneous information of something.
I watch Sunday NFL real time. I'll tell you that right now. I don't back time that. That's why there's just too much coming at you all at once. I watch that in real time.
When you're watching in real time, you're even getting more real-time information team by team. Like if you follow all the teams and a player gets injured and you're wondering, is he coming back in after in the second half? You're getting that on Twitter. So I get it. It would be easier, but I do think it's much harder for that generation to pull away from it. And then it becomes like very heavy that everybody is negative as well, because there hasn't been enough positive. I would like to see Zion get out there and have a couple good games before this season is over, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the outcome.
The team is also, they've got this super weapon, right? I mean, if this is like USA versus Russia, he's like the nuke of all nukes. Okay. Like he's the guy. I mean, he's one of the best players I've ever seen. Okay. Is he one of the best players I've ever seen? No, because that is accomplishments and resume and all-stars and all that kind of stuff. And he just isn't on the court enough. But the guy I've never seen anybody like him. I mean, the way LA, he moves, the way he dribbles, the way he pirouettes with little spin moves off the glass. He's a point forward. Oh, by the way, with great vision and point guard skills. He's freaking amazing. Oh yeah. By the way, one of the greatest sleepers and dunkers we've ever seen. All that in a bag of chips, man. It sucks, but I think that there needs to be more of not a you're okay, but no, this is not okay. Okay, you falling out of shape and getting 20, 30 pounds overweight when you're missing these huge chunks of time, something's got to change. Okay, this is not good for your life. It is not good for our life. All right, I got to be honest with you, LA, and this is what I was saying. I would advance the story here. I am trading Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. I'm trading them both. Okay. And
do you have them in the same league?
I don't have them in any leagues ever, LA. What?
Oh, you're saying, okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking fantasy. You're talking about you are the GM of the Pelicans.
Yeah, I like where your head's at though. These are guys I don't mess with, LA. Nope.
Okay.
Will not take them ever under any circumstance. If they gave me 3 straight 82-game seasons, then I would jump back on board.
All right. So you would trade them, and that's probably going to be part of the conversation next season, but we've got a little bit left in this season to really see what Zion does. Let's move to this last matchup right here, and let's talk, not the last one, but let's go Golden State gets to face Sacramento, who you predicted at the very beginning of the season when I was going to my first Knicks game of the season. They were playing Sacramento, and you said to me, Lisa, you better watch out for them. They play really good defense. They're going to have a really good season. And Draymond Green had some custom T-shirts that say, "Don't let us win another one." There was an F word in there as well. And he had it on his podcast the other day, so I was watching that. So Golden State faces Sacramento. Sacramento's got that first game at home. Golden State's going to take them out, but how many games will this go? And will Sacramento burn Golden State out a bit at the beginning of this tournament?
Sacramento's going to win, LA.
What?
Sacramento.
You're telling me that you think the Warriors are done after the first round? Rick Kamla, this is what you're telling me right now. Really?
Yes. Yes, this is what I'm telling you. There is a very, very, very important question at hand here. And it is the question of experience versus the better team. Experience being
Golden State Warriors.
They've been there, done that. They got the championships, the championship DNA, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Versus this year. Versus LA, how much does the regular season really matter in the NBA? Because if you base your opinion on this series on the regular season that we just watched, I don't know how you could pick Golden State. I literally don't. They never went on the road, and they're in a very, very tough place to play 4 of the 7 games. Their defense sucks. They turn the ball over too much. They're old and unathletic, okay? Wiggins is just coming back. What will be left of him after the long absence, all right? So many questions, so many reasons
let me just
to
say
fade
this.
them.
I think Wiggins is kind of the X factor here because yes, he's taken some time off, but I do not believe for a minute he wasn't working out every day and doing everything. He comes from a family of athletes, right? And it was sad to find out. And also got to give Golden State so much credit. Everybody so much credit for staying out of prying to what the reasons were, because there was a bunch of, theories, conspiracy theories on the internet about what had taken place. It was that his father was ill and he wanted to be there with them. That says something. I think he comes back and plays his ass off, which does make Wiggins the X factor that I think everybody is forgetting what a difference he makes. I see where you're going with this. If there is a possibility Sacramento takes out Golden West, the worst part about that is I don't think Sacramento goes further. Whereas I think if Golden West can survive, if Wiggins comes back the way I think he's going to, they can continue to fight further.
Let me see where they're at. They're in the 3-6, so they would play Memphis. Wow. If Golden State gets by Sac and Memphis gets by LA, which is a huge if, I don't even see that happening. That is a really, I just kind of put that bracket, I've been piecing it together series by series, but just to look at that bracket, that is a very spicy bracket right there. But LA, Sacramento has the best offense in the NBA, the best, number one, and it's a big separation between them and the second best team. You've got 2 absolute mega players in Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. Both were all-stars this year. Keegan Murray was second on the Rookie of the Year list for me, set a rookie record with 206 threes. And Donovan Mitchell had the previous record at 175. I mean, he blew it out of the water. You've got Davion Mitchell. You've got Malik Monk. You've got Kevin Huerter. You've got Trey Lyles has turned into a nice player. Oh, yeah, Harrison Barnes, Old Faithful, going up against his old team, Golden State, with which he won a chip back in 2015. I just like Sac's resolve and fight back. They're a good come-from-behind team. They're a really good home team. They're a very, very, very good road team, LA, which is crucial because they're probably going to have to win one in Golden State. I don't think Sac is going to be clean at home. Home advantage. Sac's got to be able to go into Golden State and win one of those games, I believe, and I think they can. I really do, because they're a very, very good road team. But it's Sac is not a defensive team; they're an offensive team. Okay, they're trying to outscore you, and that's dangerous when you're playing Golden State. But they have home court advantage. To me, they're a better team this year. And it's just this battle in my brain. Should I hang in there with Golden State, the dynasty, all the stuff that I've seen, or should I let my opinions marry with what my eyes have seen on the hardwood this year? And I'm doing the latter.
I get it. I completely get it, but you had called it for Sacramento earlier in the season. You were right, but I just feel like Golden State has this kind of, kind of floor plan, can you say, right? They've done this so many times. They know exactly how it feels to be right here. And I think getting with this going on with Wiggins coming back is going to be a difference maker. Let's go on to Phoenix and the Clippers, because we know if the Lakers do by chance get through this series and they by chance beat Memphis, they will then face up against Phoenix. And by then, Durant's going to be even better than he is right now. What chances do the Clippers have against the Phoenix Suns now that the Phoenix Suns have what they have in the addition of Kevin Durant?
I would, if I were the people at home and I could bet, and I'm in Florida and I can't bet, I would play Phoenix 4-1 at a plus 240. I mean, think of plus 240 for Phoenix to beat them 4-1. Those odds should be different, LA. That should be like, I don't know, plus 125 or something like that. Like, to me, that is super chalky for this series. It might be a sweep, okay? But it's probably going to be 4-1. It's the best odds, on the board in terms of likelihood. But a plus 240? Like, to me, I would say there's a 75% chance, maybe even more, that Phoenix beats LA in 5 games.
Okay.
Maybe an 85% chance. Like, my calculations just don't spit out any other result other than a sweep. And I don't know. I don't see them sweeping them. Sweeps rarely happen. But yeah, I mean, Phoenix is going to cook LA. They're not going to have Paul George back. Phoenix they haven't lost with Kevin Durant yet. They're 8-0. And I like them to make pretty easy work of the LA Clippers. I'm not real worried about Phoenix in the series.
I agree.
LA, I think Phoenix is going to win the West, and I don't think they're going to go to a Game 7 in any of the series.
Wow. Okay, so you're looking at Phoenix and the Celtics in the championship round.
Correct.
Jason Wolf says, Cam, you're right on with Sack's talent and the facts the facts surrounding it, but can they overcome not having any playoff experience? That's the question in my view. That's what a lot of the conversation has been. I can't believe that it's been never that they've gone this far in the playoffs. Like, that's just unbelievable.
16 years, LA, 16 years they have been out of the playoffs. That is the longest playoff drought in any of the 4 major sports here in North America. Longest playoff drought of any sport. And they're back. And to Jason's question, that is the $1 million question. I don't know the answer to it. I think I know the answer to it. You see what I'm saying here? Yeah. If we're talking in 2 weeks about Golden State beating Sacramento, the reason we will be saying that is because they were more experienced than Sacramento, and it played out with the late 4th quarter scenario in Game 3 where Sac botched it, and Golden State knew exactly what to do because they'd been there before.
Right.
Okay. If Sacramento wins, then what did that experience mean? What it meant is that Golden State is a dying dynasty. So that's why LA, we don't know this yet.
Yep.
We got to see it play out.
Yep.
But this is a choose a side deal. Most are taking the side of GSW and the experience. I am not.
Of course. And it also has, like I had mentioned, the X factor. Wiggins has been gone for what, 2 months now?
2 months.
Yes. That's a long time. And it's not that I think he's out of playing role, but I think it's enough recency bias for people to forget. Wiggins has been so good for the Golden State Warriors. And to me, he brings in just a fresh energy for them to fight back during this series. But it's going to be interesting. It's fun. It's great for Sacramento. It's great for their fans. I think we saw what we didn't expect to see. You expected to see this with Sacramento. None of us expected the Knicks to be there. None of us expected the Nets to be there. And that's what's great about this time of the year is teams we may have thought one way about the beginning of the season, they end up not getting there. Teams we thought you have no chance get there. And then teams that have been there so many times, the Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, right back at it again, where they have that understanding of what it takes to continue to win. We're going to continue a little bit more NBA conversation at the top of the hour. We have Matt Thomas, who is the voice of the Houston Rockets, joining us. You can follow at Sports MT. We'll talk some NBA, and then we got to talk a little NFL, Rick, because a lot's been happening. OBJ gets a bag. Lamar still has no bag. Saquon, or Saquads, as I hear him called nowadays, playing a little cat and mouse chase. This is when it gets good. We got the draft coming up April 27th. So we're going to talk a little NFL. But before we do, we'll continue the NBA conversation. We appreciate all of you right here in the chat. We'll keep getting to your messages as well. You're listening to Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here on Better Sports Live on the Better Sports Network.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Calvin Ridley yesterday, he applied for reinstatement from the National Football League.
Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. That is crazy potent on offense.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, Ridley's great.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I want in fantasy this year.
I think you're probably right. I think they're just going to get better and better. First off, Peterson's a wonderful offensive mind, a great head coach, and we've seen that and saw that this year as Jacksonville made it to the postseason. And Trevor Lawrence, anybody that questioned whether or not he could play in the National Football League or just how good he was going to be in the NFL, those questions were answered this past season as in the second half of the year. Statistically speaking, he was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. That's how good Trevor Lawrence is. You throw Calvin Ridley into the mix, it's going to be great. Yeah, I think Lawrence is a guy you want. I think Ridley's a guy you want. Clearly, Travis Etienne is going to be one of those early, first-round selections as well, being the dual-threat running back that he is, not only running, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, Keith, and the ability to take something small and take it to the house. Take a 5-yard dump pass, make a guy miss in the open field, and he's gone. I mean, you saw that with Travis Etienne this past season for Jacksonville. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, I think you're going to go from a team in the year span where you wanted no part of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you're looking at fantasy football to where you want as many Jaguars as you possibly can because they're going to be really, really productive. And let's see if they get their tight end back as well. Who had
Evan Ingram was great.
And Evan Ingram, who was great this past season.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep that whole core together, their offense is going to be one of the best in football. Like, I legitimately think that they could be one of the best offenses in football.
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, then
and Ridley,
Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, a good offensive line, and you've got Doug Peterson being creative calling.
Right.
And you look at that division. The Colts are a mess.
Yep.
Titans
look like they're on the downslide.
Titans are on the downslide, right? That window is clearly closed. And then you got the Houston Texans.
Years away from relevancy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville could win 11 games next year.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network.
And we are back right here, Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla on Better Sports Live. We are joined right now by Matt Thomas, who you can follow at SportsMT, host of the Matt Thomas Show and the voice of the Rockets Radio. How are you today, Matt?
I'm good, Lisa. Sorry my background sucks. I don't do a whole lot of these, so I'm trying to figure out what light looks best, but I'm a bald man, so it doesn't really work
we're not
either way.
judging you by your background or your light, so don't you worry about it. We appreciate you making the time to come on. We've been, of course, talking about this first round, talking about Zion, but in Houston, conversation is coaching change, a lot of transition. What do you see for next season for the Houston Rockets?
Well, everyone's asking me about what they're going to do with the coaching search. And, the general manager, Rafael Stone, and the owner, Tillman Fertitta, while they're friends of mine, don't call for my advice. So I'm just as good a guess as you guys are. I do believe the Rockets, 2 things will have happened next year by the time we get around next year. One, I think the head coach that will be hired will be somebody that has NBA experience. There's a lot of different names that are already being bandied about. I'm sure you've seen them on the various reports from ESPN and from others. I do believe there'll be NBA head coaching experience that gets this job. And secondly, this is the second youngest team in the NBA behind the, I believe, San Antonio Spurs. They're going to get older next year. And I think you have to get old and you have to get good. You can't just have a 35-year-old. You can't have Udonis Haslem on the team that just sits there on the bench and doesn't do anything. I think they're going to go in and get some free agency. They've got a lot of money to spend in the offseason with free agency and cap space. They got to bring some people in there that's going to be able to take these very talented 20 and 21-year-olds. Heck, half the team can't drink yet still, and they all have 1 to 2 years experience. The kind of running joke here in Houston is the University of Houston basketball team is older than the Houston Rockets. And it may not be exactly that way, but it's darn close.
Matt, Rick Kamla, nice to meet you, sir. How you doing?
Very well. Nice to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. God, there's so many directions that I could go here. You mentioned veteran, okay? So could a veteran that comes to Houston be named James Harden?
Well, you must have been watching ESPN on Christmas Day, because ever since the bombshell happened, the Woj bomb, if you will, you can't stop talking about it. It's a really, really divisive conversation here in Houston about whether or not he's here. Frankly, guys, he's been really good since leaving. I mean, he's led the league in assists again. He's not the I've got to score 30-point guy. Now, granted, when you have Joel Embiid on your same roster and you had Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons when he cared about playing, you didn't have to worry about necessarily scoring as much. But the reality is he's not the same James Harden that came here and was the alpha dog. So what is he coming back for? How much is he coming back for? And what's his role going to be? Those are answers that I think we're all very curious about. But I know that the city of Houston is very near and dear to his heart. He still has a restaurant here. He's still got lots of friends and family here. He's close with a couple of the young men on the basketball team. I would put it at 50-50.
Oh, wow.
I mean, is this a ploy to try to get Philadelphia to spend more money on keeping him? Could be. It also could be, you know what? We don't make this run with Embiid, I'm never going to win a title. Might as well come back and finish the last 4 or 5 years of my NBA career in a place that I like. And Houston, as you know, Rick, for the short time you were here, is a very nice place to live.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Well, I got to follow up and ask you, how would the fans receive him to come back? Because that's an interesting quandary as well.
I compare it to a political race, Lisa Ann. You know how there's 45% of America that are Democrats, 45% that are Republicans, and the 10% that are kind of up in the air, you don't know where they're going to go? That's where it is with James. I think those that go to games and are religious Rocket fans, and I'll say this, unfortunately, the few number of victories we had really good crowds this year. I mean, you go back 25 years ago when a team won 20 games, you were lucky to draw 8,000-9,000. We were drawing 15,000, 16,000 a game and had a few sellouts. So I know this is a city that enjoys good basketball. It's just been a while since we've had a lot of victories. Those that go to the games, I think would be all in on James. I think those that have checked out on the Rockets believe that the large reason why they checked out was because of the way James left to begin with. So it's really, to me, what side of the James Harden political party you're on as to whether you like it. I enjoyed having him here because I called a lot of winning basketball. I just don't know, Lisa Ann, what he is when he comes back, because frankly, with Jabari Smith being here, and you've got Jalen Green, and you've got this, obviously there could be a big draft pick coming here as well, especially if it's top 3. It wouldn't be James's team. And how would he handle such an event? Now, again, it's not his team in Philadelphia, but that's just one solidified MVP candidate talked about year after year after year. These aren't guys that he'd be coming to a team that would be with, 21, 22-year-olds, and he may still want to enforce his will a little bit. So I don't mean to be talking circles here,
I
but
get it.
The fans certainly very mixed on his return.
Well, boy, that would remind me of the Portland situation that feels like it's at an impasse right now, because Dame's timeline at 32 completely does not fit with Shaedon Sharpe at 19 and all these younger guys. And if James Harden went to Houston with a bunch of really, really talented, but really super young dudes, the timeline would be way off. To me, that would not be in the best interest of the Houston Rockets. I believe, Matt, that the whole thing is he's just trying to get max money from his boy Daryl Morey, okay? And so he's trying to drum up leverage in that game and get it out there. Daryl, think about this vet, sleep with this, hug up on it, make out with it if you want, but come to the realization you're going to have to max my ass out. And guess what? James Harden is playing at a max level right now. He's not paid as a max player. He is definitely maxing out leading the league in assists, 20-plus points per game, 6 assists or whatever it is. He's been very efficient. Matt, as you know, from the field and across the shooting splits this year, he's playing like a max guy. Look, if Tobias Harris is making max money, damn it, James Harden better get super max money, okay? But talk to me about Jabari Smith. You mentioned him, and it was a slow ramp up, right, Matt? But the second half of the season, what was that game that I was watching? It was the Boston game when you guys beat them. And Jabari was really good in that game. Took on the assignment of guarding Jason Tatum at the end there when you guys got that stop at the end of that game. Take us into Jabari Smith, Matt.
So it was such a weird night, gang, on draft night because Paolo was going to go number 1. I think it was all within the last 24 hours. The draft, the decision was made to go with Paolo to Orlando. And there were a lot of nervous Nellies about Chet Holmgren, about how is this guy who looks the part, but is certainly super, super tall and super, super lean. How is he going to be brittle in the NBA? There were a lot of people at our draft party that did not want him. So when the Thunder took him at number 2, it was we got our guy. And Jabari in college, I don't know if your audience knows, was a pretty good three-point shooter at Auburn in his season there. It just got off to a slow start here. And that's not atypical, as you guys know, for rookies to do that. He was basically sub 40% from the floor, around 29, 30% from 3. Tried his best defensively, always giving good effort. But when you're going against Julius Randle, who is just bulky and mean and ugly and can push people aside, and you're 6'10 or 6'11 and 216, you're going to get pushed around a little bit. So he got better as the season moved along. He never doubted his ability. It wasn't an arrogance. It was I'm good. I need to prove I'm good. So the number one thing I would say to anybody that's a Jabari Smith fan is if Jabari was in this room doing this show with us, I'd say go gain 15 pounds of muscle and go, impose your will, because that shot started to fall a little bit in the second half. And he became a double-doubles guy the second half of the year. So I know that generally speaking, it would not be a Rookie of the Year candidate or a first-team All-Rookie. But I think if you were to have a category of most improved rookie from start to finish, it might be Jabari Smith.
We're talking to Matt Thomas right here. Follow at SportsMT. So, Matt, I'm going to ask you, if the James Harden thing, we're moving that away. Not a conversation. Doesn't happen. We know the draft is around the corner. What's the missing link to bring these young players up to a level where they can be more comfortable and they can be more productive together?
Well, I think the Rockets have stockpiled draft picks so many in the last 2 or 3 years. It needs to get older. It needs to not be we're the youngest team in the NBA. They need to go through the wards. They need to be able to finish off games, Lisa, in the last 2 minutes of games. The Rockets have played a bunch of really good opponents this year to final possessions or the last minute. We lost a game on I think back-to-back games. One, I can't remember what it was. A foul was called on Eric Gordon in a home game, and then we lost on a buzzer beater alley-oop to Jimmy Butler. That was just kind of defensive lapses or mental checkouts, or they weren't accustomed to the situation, or it was a case where the coaches will say one thing and they go on the court and do another. They got to grow up. They got to mature. They need to take these losses which they've gone through the last couple of years. I'm talking about Kevin Porter and Jalen Green and Jabari last year as a rookie, and learn from them. Add a veteran influence, a guy that can kind of call these guys out in the locker room, but not only call them out, but show them they can how to do it on the floor. And then you add a draft pick. And then I think you start really trying to figure out what you're going to do with that free agent money, because I think they've got $60 million, give or take, in cap space. Don't hold me to that. And go make 1 or 2 splashy hires. This Rocket team has just been so young. And I hate to continue to bring that up over and over again, but you had 3 first-round picks this past year, 2 first-round picks this past year. You had 4 the previous year. It's almost like for the fan base and for the Rockets, it's time to grow up a little bit. And young is cool, but young goes through a lot of mistakes. And I think that the Rocket fans, and I think the administration would like to start seeing some of those late game collapses turn into late game, wow, been there, done that. Let's win this game. We know how to do it.
Matt, it's such a good point, but here's the problem with that, okay? I get the theory. They need to add, veterans and older guys, young equals L in the NBA. We know this, but Alpi Şengün is your 5 of the future. Jabari Smith is your 4 of the future. Jalen Green's your 2 of the future. Kevin Porter Jr. is your 1 of the future. They're young. Like, who's going to come in and play over those guys, right? And so KJ Martin took a huge spike this year. And frankly, looked really
did.
good as the three on that basketball team. Not as young as those guys, but what is he, Matt, 25 years old, something like that?
He just finished his third year. I mean, he's relatively speaking, he can sip beer now. I mean, that's just go, that's how we celebrate.
Hooray beer. Love me some Red Stripe, by the way. But I just I get it, but we're talking about ultimately, bringing in veterans that would be bench players, a sage point guard, a 30-year-old 3-and-D guy. And trust me, these would be valuable pieces for Houston, and I think could help them get over the hump and win. But it's it's an interesting thought, to get older so you can win. But, getting older would mean that your young studs are off the floor. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, what's
what
up?
I want? I'll give you an example. The team just didn't have enough shooting this past year. Maybe the first one to tell you this. We were last in the NBA in shooting and 3-point percentage. Give me a Luke Kennard. Can you give me a Luke Kennard somewhere?
Matt, I've got a guy.
Who?
And it's Gary Harris of the Orlando Magic. Okay. Gary Harris had an unbelievable 3-point percentage this year. He's a good defender. Not a Pat Bev or a Marcus Smart. And Matt, you know these guys. I'm talking to our people right now. But he's a good defender. Okay. And he's a 3-and-D guard. Okay. We talk about 3-and-D wings, right? He's a 3-and-D too, but Orlando doesn't need him, Matt. It drives me crazy. He's just in the way of Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz. That should be your 3-pack of guards for the 96 minutes a night and call it a day. All three of them play 32 minutes. Everybody eats. They're developing. You're winning, blah, blah, blah. But Gary Harris started for Orlando because he's a really good basketball player. So that's the guy. Gary Harris to the Houston Rockets. And, Matt, as you know, he's a vet. People like him. He's a Michigan State guy. We know the fabric that they have.
I like him in Denver. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like it. I'm glad you're now the assistant general manager. Let me call Rafael Stone right now. Let me text him at this exact moment.
I love the talent evaluation game, Matt. NFL and NBA. I would take that call and I would listen. I'm telling you right now, I would listen.
That's good.
I get it. The leadership in the locker room says a lot as well. And there is something with that many young players just playing with each other and not having somebody to, do that with them. Let's talk about where we're at right now. Playoffs, we're looking at them. The Lakers made their way facing Memphis this first round. Rick's got the Celtics and the Suns going all the way. So we want to hear from you, Matt Thomas. How do you feel about the rest of the season for the NBA?
I feel like I'm talking to my co-host on my radio show. I'm just like everybody else, guys. If Durant's healthy, they're going to win. They're going to win the West. But the problem is Chris, and we saw it firsthand here a half dozen years ago with Chris Paul and the hammy. Durant slips during practice. It could happen during a game. Devin Booker is amazing, but he's also had his share of injuries. If they're healthy, they're my pick. I would love to take Memphis, but Steven Adams not playing hurts because he's the smart rebounder. He's the great rim protector. And as much as I love Jaren Jackson and the fact that he can spread him out and he can shoot the three and he can dunk and he can block shots, there have been so many games I've called to his, and we play them 4 times a year, being in the members of the Southwest Division, that he'll get 3 fouls in 5 or 6 minutes of play. And in the playoffs, you cannot do that because, with all due respect to Xavier Tillman, that 1-2 combination doesn't strike fear like Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. could. So I would like to pick Memphis, but I'm going to go with Phoenix. And if Phoenix can't stay healthy, then I think Denver, has been very underwhelming the last month and a half. We saw them last 2 weeks ago before the end of the regular season. They look like they're just mailing it in. Sacramento doesn't play like a defense. I'm concerned about them. Golden State can't win on the road on a regular basis. It's a crapshoot. I think it doesn't matter. I think you guys have talked about this, I'm sure, many times. Whoever comes out of the West is going to be easy prey for the Eastern Conference champion. I think the East is well and above everybody else in the West right now.
I agree with that. I would pick Milwaukee or Boston to beat Phoenix. I've got Boston beating Phoenix ultimately. I think the Middleton injury is going to be the difference maker in that Boston series when they meet on the Eastern mountaintop in the East Finals. Matt, so we have not talked about Lakers and Grizzlies. And the most intriguing series for me is Sac and Golden State, for the dichotomy of experience versus lack of experience. Does the regular season matter? All this kind of stuff. And see how all that translates or not. But the Lakers and Grizzlies is right there. Probably for me, my second favorite series. I have the Lakers winning in 7, Matt, over the Memphis Grizzlies. And you mentioned Adams. The absence of Brandon Clark to me is going to be big time in that series as well. Who you got, Lakers or Grizzlies?
I was so unimpressed last night with the Lakers. I don't know why it took them 43 minutes to get going. And it was really, frankly, Dennis Schroeder of all people. I mean, if Dennis Schroeder is the guy that you have to lean on to win a clutch playoff game, you're probably not winning a whole lot of them. I'm nothing against Schroeder, but of my list of guys, I mean, I would rather put the ball in Austin Reeves' hands with a couple minutes left to go to win the game than him. But, however you get there, you get there. The Lakers are playing better basketball. We saw them also in the last 2 weeks of the season. LeBron, to me, guys, is not 100%, but 80% of LeBron's pretty damn good. Anthony Davis, when he looks vested and interested, looks like he's a guy. And again, injury concerns always a problem with him as well. I do like D'Angelo Russell, no matter what uniform he's in. I think frankly, over his career, he's been a little too harshly admonished for his play. I just think he puts the ball in his hands. He's going to score for you. He's always among the top 15, 20 guys in assists. I like him. So I like Memphis, but I mean, you're putting me in a spot. I would still take Memphis in a 7-game tight series because I think Ja wants to say, you know what, I'm sorry. Sorry I became such a distraction. That arena is rocking. And frankly, the Lakers, again, even though they played a lot better the second half of the year after starting the season, what were they,
Correct,
2-10 or something like that? The crypto.com is not the unbelievable place. Look how they played last night. I mean, Minnesota didn't have Rudy Gobert, and they're sitting there struggling in the fourth quarter with that contest. So, yeah, I'm firm now.
Oh, Rick. Wow.
Memphis.
Look at we had an on-air real-time epiphany by the great Matt Thomas. You see what happened?
But Matt, I see where you're going. I was talking to Rick
radio.
earlier about the Clippers game, the Lakers-Clippers game last week. It was like hard to watch how poorly the Lakers were playing. And I get it. Their record over the past 3 weeks has been incredible. But when they play bad, they play really bad. Like just sloppy play. So it's hard, somebody could take advantage of that. Shouldn't be taking him that long to win, like you said, against Rudy Gobert. We have this back and forth going on with so many teams. And of course, I'm in New York. So of course, Knicks fan, we've got the Nets as well, but New York doesn't love the Nets like we love the Knicks. But all Knicks fans feel is we get to the first round of the playoffs. We're happy. We're probably not going any further. They're facing Cleveland. Do you feel the same that Cleveland's going to take this series away from the New York Knicks?
Which Donovan Mitchell is going to show up? Regular season Donovan Mitchell or Utah Jazz playoff Donovan Mitchell? Can you answer that question for me?
We don't know. We don't have him on text. We could probably ask him on Twitter. I don't know if he's going to respond.
I think the former. I think we're going to see.
If that's the case, if we get the regular season Donovan in Cleveland, this series is over within 5 or 6 games at the very most. I think Cleveland's. I would love to pick Cleveland as a surprise Eastern Conference team. I called a game of theirs about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And granted, they're so good in their arena too. That was part of it. But they're Jared Allen, good rim protector, finishes on the alley-oop. I love Donovan Mitchell. Ricky Rubio coming off the bench, knows his role there. Garland's playing out of his mind. They could be the sneaky East. Problem is the top 2, really the top 3 are so tough in the East. You put Cleveland in the West, they hands down in the Western Conference, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. I would probably put them second behind Phoenix, but I hadn't thought about that. Put Cleveland in the West and how that looks. That's a very interesting thought right there. Matt, we have right now Toronto leading the Bulls. I believe I saw by 11. Just want to let the people know about that. Tonight, 9:30 Eastern time, we've got Oklahoma City at the New Orleans Pelicans. I got Pels tonight, Matt, in a very close game. I like OKC plus the 5.5. I do think New Orleans is going to win the game by 2, 3, 4 points, somewhere in there. Who do you like tonight, Pels and Thunder?
I would go the same way. I like New Orleans in a very close basketball game. I'm a big Brandon Ingram guy. I think he's really, really good. I think they got a nice 8-man rotation.
Rick, do you want to tell him that you're not a Brandon Ingram guy?
Well, I mean, I think Matt's talking about talent, and I would agree there. Matt, it drives me crazy how he just stays hurt. I mean, he just stays hurt.
Yes.
My God, could we please have you play?
And
he
frankly,
won't even play at 98%, Matt. He insists on being the full 100%.
You and I must have the same contact because I was told that exact thing from somebody that I always say, man, I love me some Brandon Ingram. I'm like, yeah, but the problem is he just doesn't want to play unless he's 100% healthy. I wish Zion, whatever he's going on in his life, injury-wise, could stay healthy because you put him with that group, and it's a fun group to watch. But I can't send New Orleans deep in the playoffs with, is Alvarado even playing? I'm not calling the New Orleans game in a while.
He is not. No, he is not. It's a great question. He's not ready to go.
Yeesh. That's a spark plug off the bench they're missing. I think they're going to be easy fodder for whoever they play in the first round of the playoffs. Either one of them. I think Oklahoma City's a nice surprise story. Mark Daigneault should probably get some Coach of the Year honors, frankly. Not having his number one pick. SGA is playing out of his mind. We got blown out there not once but twice in the season, so that's a good building to play in. But I think New Orleans is better. I just don't think either one of them should be considered a legitimate challenge in the West.
Matt Thomas, we appreciate you joining us tonight so much. Can you tell everyone where they can find you other than @SportsMT on Twitter?
All right, I will be at SportsMT. I will be on the air noon to 3 on Sports Talk 790 in Houston, where I'm only down to one job because I do the Rockets games and the show at the same time. So looking forward to that. And I'll be on noon to 3 Central Time. And hopefully, if anybody wants to get some Rocket conversation, the Astros won to get today. So we talk about everything in sports, but obviously a primary focus on the local teams.
Great having you on. Everybody, make sure you give a follow at SportsMT. We are going to hit a quick break. When we get back, we're going to continue the conversation, catch you up on tonight's game, and get into a little NFL talk. That's Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here on Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.
The word genius is there. Bob Glauber, it describes him. Bob, so when's the last time that Twitter defeated you? Because I've been defeated by Twitter today.
I'll tell you how Twitter defeated me one time. I had the mistaken impression that the year that Troy Polamalu won the Defensive Player of the Year, it looked like it was going to go to Clay Matthews Jr., and I tweeted it. And there was a guy on the media bus. He was like, oh, yeah, he's got it, a guy I trust. I won't tell you who it was, but his initials are Mike Garafalo. So I went with it. Got a DM from Rich Eisen, NFL Network. He goes, you sure about that? I go, oh, man. Oh, I just got this wave because like accuracy to me is really important. So I'm literally on the media bus. We're just getting back from media day. We are slipping and sliding in Dallas. It's snowing. I get off the bus. I open my laptop. I'm hunched over, and I just literally people are passing me. Bob, what's wrong? And it was Polamalu, and Adam Schefter had retweeted me. Trey Wingo had retweeted me. I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
So when it's Polamalu, then how do you handle that? Like, what was the subsequent tweet
I think
afterwards?
I said, got some bad Twitter info. I didn't put Garafalo's name on there. I had to
10 years later, you can out him. I like that. Yeah.
He wouldn't mind that. He knows the stories.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, hey, Bob, I think you might have jumped the gun on that. I was like, oh, crap. There we go.
Campus to Canton on the Bettor Sports Network.
Would Dion bench Shedeur?
I don't think he would.
Like, how bad would it have to be? Because we've seen horrendous quarterback play from this Colorado team for the last, 5 years? JT Shroud, Brandon Lewis, just terrible quarterback play. Like, they were 131st, which is dead last in pass EPA per play. Obviously, it will be better, but how bad does it have to be for him to bench his own son? Like, I'm not sure he will ever either, like, especially with the attitude that he came in with.
If they don't get Rashada, who do they bench him for this year anyway? I don't know that there's another answer on that roster that you go to. They don't really have a guy behind him, so I don't even know if we would know the answer to that until the next year, assuming that, he doesn't declare for the draft, he returns, they bring somebody else that's competent and behind him.
If they're going to do this the Lincoln Riley way, next year would be the class to bring somebody in. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a third-year player, so he's going to play 2023. I don't think he's declaring for the 2024 NFL draft, so he's going to play in 2024 and then declare for the 2025 NFL draft. And let's remember this, he hasn't had a full recruiting cycle at Colorado. He will have that next recruiting cycle, so maybe he could get one of these class of 2024 quarterbacks there to come to Colorado.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
And we are back with you right here. That was a great visit. All Rockets Radio. You can follow Matt Thomas at SportsMT. We've got attention, Bettor fans. You can have the Bettor Sports Network newsletter emailed to you every day. The only place to get our Bettor Bet, plus exclusive offers, program alerts, special events, and our top moments. Register for free right now at bettorsports.com. Before we go any further, anything important, Kyle Kuzma is in his feelings today. I don't know if you know this, about 6 hours ago, something was said on FanDuel TV he didn't like. And so he decides to reach out to FanDuel TV. First tweet. Okay, since I'm so famous at FanDuel TV. And
do you want to know what he said? Do you want to know what pissed him off?
Tell me. Yeah, because I don't know the backstory. I just know that the greatest response I've seen so far is that the last time, remember that big pink sweater that he wore to a game?
Yes, it was hideous.
Roto Grinders writes, this is Kuzma's longest thread since he wore that pink sweater. And I was like,
that's a good one.
That tweet wins the thread.
That's
you win. You win because it's a thread, the sweater. All right, what was said today that has him saying things like, the Wizards have so much real estate on Din Shittle Island. This guy got signed by a team, 60 mils, and was traded before the season was over. In a parentheses, shocked emoji. What's got under Kuz's skin today?
Oh my God, this is so good. Me and AD are going to be talking about this tomorrow on NBA Radio. So
it's a massive thread. He put down 6 or 7 tweets himself.
I'm a Kuzma fan, man. I like both his players, but his dudes, I'm a team Kuz here. So here's the thing. Spencer Dinwiddie called out Kuz and said, if you were really that good of a third option, the Lakers would have kept you behind LeBron and Anthony Davis. Okay. Boo! Whoosh. Sunk his battleship with that. Okay.
Yes.
That is a total diss. Did it out in front of God and everybody, knowing that it would immediately go to Kyle Kuzma, knowing that the beef is on and popping in the whole thing. LA, here's the thing. Spencer Dinwiddie was in Washington for a minute, okay? And he did not get along with Bradley Beal. Apparently, they had it twisted who the number one was there. You're like, wait a minute, Dinwiddie thought he was the number one? Yep, Dinwiddie thought he was the number one. Dinwiddie's a badass, guys, okay?
Yep.
Is he that guy? No, but he thinks he's that guy, and you ain't telling him nothing about that.
And by the way, you got to have some of that, I think, of that guy's swagger to get to the next level. You do. You do.
Totally do. Absolutely. I'm not mad at Dinwiddie, okay? He's doing what he's got to do. Kuzma's doing. I'm not mad at either of these guys. I'll let you know which side I'm on. I'm with Team Kuz here, but I'm not mad at either guy. But that's what pissed off Kuzma, is that because Kuzma's looking to get paid a max bag this summer, right? And so it's a big conversation. Not like right now, it's the playoffs, but we talked a lot about Kuz in the regular season. I don't know if he's staying in Washington, going somewhere else. Like, he's turned himself into a badass dual forward, hits threes and passes the ball and plays defense. He's a really good basketball player, man, and had a breakout year this year. But he's pissed that Dinwiddie called out his name, man, and said, if you were really that good of a third option, the Lakers would have kept you. And that sent Kyle Kuzma to Twitter for this.
Oh, and you are going to love reading this thread of the show tomorrow, but I'm going to give you my favorite out of this series of 6. It's a 6-part series. Out of the series of 6, my favorite is number 5. He's so good. Like, you tell this kid, like, he understands punctuation. He does 5, the period, the half parenthesis, like a Kuz. Way to do it. Your generation doesn't even want to use capitals or any punctuation. I'm loving all of the emphasis on the feeling.
Your girl, Becky Smalls, does not do any punctuation at all.
None.
She just word.
None.
It's hilarious.
But that's a normal thing now for anyone under a certain age.
I guess.
It's number 5, period, half parentheses. And yep, exclamation point. I got a bag coming. Praying hands. Stop hating. LOL. I had to like that tweet immediately. Okay, I'm liking all these tweets. Who's getting all the love right now? Okay, I'm going through all of them. All of them.
You know what I love?
Go.
I love how geeked you are about this. I really do. You are adding so much life to these tweets that is there but not really there, right? You are completely amplifying and dramatizing this situation beautifully.
But he
right
uses the proper emoji and doesn't repeat. So each tweet has a different level of either crying face, happy
That's
face,
good.
shocked face. Like they're fantastic. And he's articulate. Let's just give Kuz credit for being articulate.
He is. Do you know Kuz?
I have interacted with Kuz.
Okay.
We've messaged multiple times on social. We've never met in person. I've seen him play quite a few times, but you know me, I'm always the person that's like reaching out when somebody gets in trouble or when they have an injury or something's going on. I'm always sliding the DM. Yo, keep your chin up. This is how I always make friends. You know.
I love it. I love it. I just like how different he is. I don't like his choice of clothing. I don't.
Okay, the pink sweater was like next level different.
Like next level.
So crazy.
If people have it, they turned it into a bobblehead. It was such like an iconic Twitter viral.
He knows
what are they? A rival moment with the look or the
yeah.
fit, as they call it. But
The
literally,
fit.
it's a pink sweater on a dude, 6'10" dude, and literally the arm lengths went almost down to the floor. Like
It's
you couldn't see his hands, like all the way down. Like it was.
How much? By the way, they had to be custom done too. Because
There's no doubt about that. What do you think?
For him to get a sweater,
$1,000 for that hideous sweater. What do you think?
Oh, I'm thinking 5G, maybe 7,500.
Yo, let's feed the homeless. At that rate, let's feed the homeless, man. $5,000 for that ass rotten sweater. Let's feed the homeless, man. Let's take care of the community a little bit. That is
buying no $1,000 off the rack shit. Okay, that's custom. Okay, that's a designer. That's expensive, but you are gonna have a great time talking about that.
You can't take me shopping anywhere. If that's like a regular deal, that $1,000 sweater, you can't take me shopping anywhere, man.
And I'm going to say this. I've said this to many of my friends over the past couple of months. Like inflation is really something, but man, inflation on luxury goods is next level.
Oh, wow.
It's next level. Like it's the things that are going up $30, $40 on luxury goods. They're going up $300 to $500.
Oh my God.
The same shoes you bought last year, you go to look at the same pair to replace them because you love them so much. And you're like, how can I justify this? It's the exact same pair. You guys made them at the factory probably at the same time. And these are the leftovers from last year. That's how bad it is. Yeah.
So I'm worried about a $5 bag of Lay's, right? Like, that's like, what do you mean? Like it was $2.99 like just a minute ago. And now it's like $4.89 to get a bag of Lay's. $5 for a bag of Lay's. Okay. And the bag is half full. It's not even close to fully full.
They're never full. You know what?
It's so amazing. Like, where did my half of a bag of chips go? And I'm paying $5 for the bag of chips. It makes no sense.
I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I like these almond flour crackers that I get from Whole Foods. They come in a box and they come in a bag. They could do away with, because I don't do white flours. They could do away with all the packaging, right? But when you get them, it says it's like 6 servings. And I'm like, there's no possible way. Each box is 1 serving. Okay. It is 1 serving because the box is this big. You get the bag, it's about this big. Then you open it, it's all air. And I'm like, if I divided this, it'd be like 8 crackers per serving. Who's doing that? And so I just do the math and I eat the whole box because they're really good. And there's not enough in there for me to be able to say, stop eating these. And I'm not going to seal them back up when there's 3 left. You know what I mean? You get that.
I do.
You make that decision in the chip bag or in the cracker bag where you're halfway there. And you're like, I either keep going full tilt here or I step away right now. You're not stepping away, especially if you're watching TV.
No, you're not, LA. You're not. So yeah, I haven't really, we've got Lillicoy 18 months. We've been sort of bunkered down. It's golf course, beach, grocery store, home, backyard. Like we're in a bubble, frankly. We're like the NBA bubble in Orlando. So we're not really out shopping for luxury items and stuff like that.
You're also not taking Ubers in the city that are charging us twice as much as they were last year. Like Ubers have gotten.
Wow.
So I am the person now that runs
So it's
into.
just people are just looting in a riot, is what it sounds like to me.
It's called sticky inflation, and so when inflation is hit in other categories, then other people and other businesses and other categories say, well, if they're paying this much more for this, we can eat about. And the problem with sticky inflation is it barely goes down, and that becomes a problem. I mean, I left a hair salon because they wanted to charge me $35 this last year for when inflation was first starting to really tick up for a blowout. And I said to the owner of the salon, I'm like, you're using the same hair dryer, the same brush, and you have not bought new supplies. There's no way you can put this inflation on me like, oh, it costs us more to get shipping. What are you shipping? It's the same hair dryer. I said to him, we're done here. We're done. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. And I relocated my hair services. That was very important to me. But let's talk about OBJ and let's talk about Lamar, because the conversation is interesting. We don't have answers on Lamar. Lamar gets OBJ gets a deal, but what makes him take the deal when he doesn't know who's throwing him the ball? That's a concern, because if you're Odell and you're only marketing yourself, good money, 15 to 18 million. People are saying 18. It really looks more like 15 million with some incentives. It is guaranteed, right? At the end of the day, that's a marketing year. He needs to get as many receptions as possible, as many touchdowns as possible, because he'll be right back at the well next season, remarketing himself. Can he take that deal without knowing who his quarterback is? Or is this all smoke and mirrors and Lamar is definitely playing, everything's going to be fine?
It's a great question. I feel like this is the signal that we've been waiting for on Lamar Jackson. We don't know if he's going to get a bag from Baltimore. We don't know how many years. We don't know how that's going to look. I feel like, though, we do know that Lamar Jackson's going to be the Ravens quarterback this year. I feel like 100% certainty on that. Why would Odell Beckham, you could say, well, he just took the biggest bag of money. Okay, you got me there. Did Kansas City have $15 million for him? Did Tennessee have $15 million for him? Did Green Bay have $15 million for him? Did Atlanta have $15 million for him? Probably not. Okay, you got me there. But that's one way to look at it. I'm looking at it as Odell Beckham Lamar Jackson hard recruited Odell Beckham to join him. Okay. Yep. Would he do that if he weren't fully invested in the team? Guys, the trade request, okay, was just the business of football. He's not saying, I never want to play here again. You all suck. The city sucks. Everything sucks. No, he wants to get paid. He's trying to increase leverage and get the glacier to thaw a little bit. This is the stuff that you do. So I think this is an indication, LA, firmly 100% that Lamar Jackson will be spiraling the football to Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar and Mark Andrews. And frankly, they got a nice little skill room right now, running back, wide out, and tight end. Now that they have Beckham there, balances out the whole offense. It gives their offense a chance. And I think Lamar is going to be their QB. LA, I don't know if he's going to get paid, but I do know he's going to be their quarterback.
So where does this put, let's just say hypothetical, Lamar's there. We know Odell is there. Where does this put Odell in your rankings? Are you one of the mind that you feel you haven't seen him play in so long? Or are you of the mind like he's had a ton of recovery time, he's had a ton of training time, he looks phenomenal. We know what he did when he was last on the field with the Rams. And like, you got to give Odell credit as a player to come into a team halfway through the season and be that effective. Like, that just shows me his football IQ is there and he's really a plug and play player. He had more time off than we've seen anybody have time off for this injury. He's 100% healthy. Where would you take Odell Beckham in a fantasy football draft if you were drafting right now and you knew Lamar Jackson was the quarterback?
I will be fading him, LA, and it's because of Lamar Jackson. If Odell Beckham went to Kansas City, ooh la la.
There was conversation for a minute that he was going to go to New Jersey and play for the Jets, right? And I think that was another reason why the jump started to happen.
Exactly. Like, and with the Jets, with Rodgers, you know, I would like it more, but it's very crowded there. Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson and Mecole Hardman and Alan Lazard. Okay. Like I was saying the whole time, pardon me. The Jets don't need Odell Beckham. They don't. Okay. Aaron Rodgers wants him. We already gave you your guy, Alan Lazard. Okay. Sit down. Like, we're going to give up stuff to get you. We're going to take care of you. Okay. But Kansas City,
we have a question here. Are you guys worried Beckham isn't Beckham because of the length of time that he's missed? That's from Scott. Thanks for the question. We've got Joey right here. OBJ is a double-digit round guy for me still. He's the third receiving option on a team with a first-run QB. I really see this a little bit differently. And I'm hoping that I'm in draft rooms with this exact scenario with a bunch of league mates who are looking at Odell and forgetting or not thinking that he can be there. This is a guy that trains all year long. Yes, the recovery from this injury was longer than what we expected, but in a sense, that makes me feel better. I also watch all of his footage on Instagram. I watch everything that he puts together of his workouts. He gets it in. He trains out in Studio City with a quarterbacks coach and wide receiver coach that a lot of these players work with. He's got the best nutrition. He's kind of, undersold as people not understanding that he's almost like a LeBron style player when it comes to how he takes care of his health, when it comes to everything from infrared to cryo to how he eats to everything else. So I see this is going to be an interesting draft decision. I see people are going to you're going to be lucky to be in one of these rooms where you're like, wait a minute, it's round 4 and nobody's taken Odell yet. Or you're going to have a diehard Odell fan that reaches for him in this second round. And you're like, I don't know if I was ready for that because I don't love Lamar Jackson enough to want to draft Odell Beckham in the second round.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I totally acknowledge he's working on his body. I'm not worried about Odell Beckham's body. That is not an issue for me at all. He's 14 months past surgery. I believe he's 100%. I haven't seen him with my own 2 eyes, but the Ravens wouldn't be messing around with him if you weren't 100%. And there's just been enough time, and I trust the work that he's been putting in that you're talking about. This is about the fit. This is about the people around him. You're a wide receiver. You need somebody to throw you the football, okay? It's like a big man in basketball. A lot of big men starve because their point guards don't give them the rock. How can I get into my drop spin fadeaway or my drop step, power move to the hoop, or my fadeaway jumper, and all that kind of stuff if I don't have the rock? So if you're a wide receiver, you need the rock. And I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to get Odell Beckham the rock enough to be a big-time fantasy player. Look, from Odell, I could see 70 grabs, 90 yards, 8 touchdowns, solid year. Do I see 1,000? I mean, Mark
He had
Andrews
10 touchdowns in a half a season in Los Angeles, though, and he was competing with Cooper Kupp for targets. So I still think there's more juice there. I really, really do.
I understand everything you're saying. You're talking, this is a Sean McVay offense with Matt Stafford versus Lamar Jackson, who is amazing, but he's not great at throwing the ball. He's not prolific. He's not consistent. And I think Odell's EB, you love best ball. You talk about best ball all the time. Odell Beckham strikes me as the best ball guy.
Okay, there you go. I'm going to do a best ball challenge. I'm going to do an entire month of best ball drafts, one a day for a month this year. So I'm working on this whole rollout. I'm working on it. Fantrax just redid their site. I went through it. I started a draft. We worked on it together. They made their site so much better because, I have really hard feelings against my fantasy league. And for a while, I had those same emotional, really hard feelings against Fantrax. And now it's beautiful. It's so much more user-friendly. There's all these different things with the queue. You can queue individual positional players instead of them all going into one queue. You can divide the queue. You can have quarterbacks. You can put a dream wish list together. So I will be best ball madness. I will take Odell Beckham in best ball all day long when I get him. But I do believe that in the 20 fantasy football leagues that I'm in, he will be in at least 5 of them if I can get him.
I will be taking Odell Beckham Jr. if the time is right. Okay. If I don't know, LA, I maybe my third wide receiver, but that my philosophy this year, he's not going to be my third wide receiver. He'll probably go to somebody else because I'm taking wideouts early. And then I'll hit a couple of running backs. And then depending on a tight end, I got to get the last good one, or maybe a quarterback. But that's how I'm doing it. First 3 picks are going to be wide receivers. I hope to end up with, Jamar Chase and AJ Brown and somebody else that I know I'm getting 80 grabs, I'm getting $1,000, I'm getting around 10 touchdowns. I'm not doing it. The running back pool is very, very deep. The running back pool is full of split backfields. And basically it's like me with starting pitchers and closers in baseball, LA. I already know going in, okay, I'm going to be playing the lily pad hop game all year. And either you're signed up and good with it or you're not. Okay. like to think, oh, I'm just going to have one lineup and set it all year. Good luck. When does that ever happen in fantasy football? So you're going to have to pick up
because you never have to set your lineup, which is what I love. Okay, Scott just asked, what round in best ball drafts are you thinking about with OBJ? That really depends on the room, and that's why I'm going to do a month. So I'm going to do 1 week one style, 1 week the other style. And I'm going to do 4 different styles of visualizing how best ball works for me. We'll break down these drafts, but I'm going to do this in June. It seems early, but it gives us time to do more in July, a little bit in August. Like August is kind of a blur because we all have so many drafts that we're in. And I spend my entire month of August shooting draft orders for Cameo. So I have like no life in August. It is my big month. I just shot a dynasty draft order today, which is really funny. And it just resurfaced on my timeline. So my very first fantasy football draft of the season, I was super excited to get the order. It's for a dynasty draft. And there's a guy in the league, and I get notes, and you can direct message once a Cameo is purchased. I can go back and be like, who won last year? This and that. And there's a guy in the league that thinks cameos are lame. Like he just thinks it's the dumbest idea ever. So I made a note, and I said, I hope your team loses. I hope you have the worst draft. I made fun of him. So he just tweeted me. I have no idea this person is. His name is John. I remember that from doing it. He's like, dear at the real Lisa Ann, I am now a believer in Cameo. You destroyed me in that video for the Big 12 Fantasy League draft order. Thank you for that. And I'm like, I have now made a new friend because I trolled him. But it's gonna, I think I'm gonna. Scott asked that. I think it's gonna be a wait and see approach because I think by the time we're starting to do a bunch of best ball drafts, we're also gonna have more answers. We're gonna have Lamar Jackson. We're gonna go to this next conversation right now, Saquon Barkley. So we got a little Saquon Barkley news today that I think is interesting. But what we always forget is these are voluntary. They don't have to go to these. They're voluntary. And I think at this point, Saquon considers himself a vet. You consider Saquon a vet? Is he old enough?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I ain't tripping about not going to OTAs. I'm not tripping on that. Here's the thing. Saquon Barkley wants a big bag, and he's not going to go to their offseason program unless he gets it. This is the leverage that he has. This is the card he has to play on the poker table, and he has played it. The Giants don't want to sign Saquon to a long-term deal, and I agree, okay? 1 year, $10 million on the franchise tag. That's all I got for you, bro. Same thing with Austin Eckler. Love you. You're amazing. I'm not paying my running back. Why? How? Because that's how business is done in the NFL right now. This is not 2000.
I get it, but if I was the player and I know I have a shorter shelf life on my career at my position than any other position in the NFL, kickers can kick till they're in their 40s. Tight ends can play. Wide receivers can play. Quarterbacks can play. We just saw Tom Brady retire in his 40s. Aaron Rodgers is 38. That position, I understand we don't value it because their careers are 3 to 5 years long. But I also understand this perspective of the athlete to get as much as they possibly can because they're in a shorter ability playing cycle than other positions in the same league. And they are valuable and they are used at the end zone and they do make a difference for teams. And they don't get that value put on them because their careers don't last as long, but their careers are cut short because of the intensity of their position. So I do believe because of the intensity of their position that they should get paid.
Look, I understand everything you're saying. And I'm not mad at Austin Eckler for demanding a trade and saying worst case scenario for him is returning to LA on the same deal that he has right now. Austin, I feel you. LA, I feel you. Saquon, I feel you. I do. I empathize. Okay. That's just not the reality of the NFL right now. And they can stay dug in and they can stay pissed off. They can. And they have every right to do so. And I'm not mad at them for doing so. If I am an NFL team, I got to do what I got to do. I have a hard cap, not a soft cap like Major League Baseball, not a soft cap like the NBA. I have a hard cap. I don't have any wiggle room above the cap that they give us to work with, okay? So you have to make tough decisions. And I am not going to have lousy cornerbacks and give up 300 passing yards a game so I can pay you $15 million a year.
But was Daniel Jones worth the money they gave him? Did you really
of course
think
not. Of course
so
not.
this is where the checks and balances don't add up. And when you look at the dynasty, this is the dynasty that when you look at the dynasty that was the New England Patriots, Brady compromised so everyone could get paid and he could have the team around him that he wanted. Daniel Jones could have stepped up and done the same thing here.
Yes, he could have. He could have played the Julius Randle card, LA. Could have taken a hometown discount.
He could have done it. By the way, we got some updates on Ricky's props. We got DeMar DeRozan is 16 points, which is under the 21.5. We got Fred VanVleet, 19 points. And you had him for under the 18.5. That's not good.
I did. Every time I look up at this TV, he's splashing another 3. It's been annoying so far.
Did you have Gary Trent Jr. on your list? Did I miss that one?
Yeah, over 12.5 on G Trent. And
okay.
he had 2 points at halftime.
That is not great. That is not working for you. And then Nikola Vucevic at 3 assists, over 2.5. You already won that bet. I wish you could play in your state. That is magical. I wanted to give some updates. I appreciate our producer at Heavy T on Air for giving us those updates. But here we are, right? So we don't have a lot of conversation about Zeke since the cut. And I found this to be so fascinating that we're not seeing him like going to dinners. We kind of known what everybody else was doing. All the courtships that go on, flying here to go to dinner, people taking pictures of people going out. Derek Carr all over. Where's the Ezekiel Elliott conversation? Please do not tell me that next year he plays in the XFL.
Well, I think he might have to retire. I mean, I'm sorry. Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, Zeke Elliott.
Leonard is way older than Zeke and Kareem Hunt.
He's not, though. He's not. Zeke is like 28. Leonard Fournette is like 28, I think.
I'm looking right now.
They're like 1 year apart in age. I believe. I would happily stand corrected if necessary. But Leonard Fournette asked out of Tampa Bay to join a contender. Swing and a miss, bro. You were lucky to have a job. And I like Leonard Fournette, but last year he wasn't very good. And a lot of teams already have the running back. LA, look. I don't have Bijan Robinson going in the first round of this draft, and I freaking love Bijan Robinson.
Thank you, Heavy T. By the way, Fournette is 28 and Zeke is 27. Wow, why did I think Fournette was older?
I understand the perception. I understand the perception. But Zeke Elliott, if he didn't take, he should have taken whatever Jerry Jones had for him. You got the veteran minimum for me? I'll take it. Fred VanVleet just hit another 3. Every time I look up here, LA.
By the way, Bettor Boss, I hope I'm in some drafts with you this year. He says he's not drafting Odell Beckham before the 10th round in fantasy, which means you're not going to get him, Matt. Nobody is going to let him there in the 10th round. There's no way a viable receiver with some upside is sitting there past round 9, especially with the theory that we are going to be overdrafting receivers as opposed to running backs this season.
I probably would take Beckham in advance of round 10. It'd probably be round
6, 7.
Nah, 6 feels a little high. Probably 7. Because again, like I'm probably going to be doing other stuff in that round because I'm going to have to get.
I feel like I'm going to have Odell on all of my teams. Then I feel like I'm going to be the one getting him.
You are, and I wish you luck with it. I'm probably more like a round 9 guy where I'd start looking at Beckham because I'm going to go wide, run, tight or QB. So that's the next 2. What is that? 3, 2. Now I'm at round 5 and then round 7. Round 7, I've only got 2 running backs. I'm probably going to want a third. Hell, I might take a third running back in the 6th round and forego tight end and quarterback and push them back a little bit because, I got to have some depth of running back, right? And those rolls of the dice on all these split backfield guys. So I don't totally disagree with Matt. I'm not like super fading Odell like that. I do think there's value there, but I'm also not like real hot on him and not like, oh yeah, I got to have Odell Beckham. I'm somewhere in between. So probably round 9 would be the earliest I'd be looking at him.
Before we get to a quick break, I'm going to throw this out there. We're going to talk some Russell Wilson. I love the fact that he is voluntarily showing up at involuntary minicamp. And I think it's great for Sean Payton so he can set him straight and get him running on that treadmill, whatever he needs to do, just for us to see a little bit of Russell Wilson that we thought we were going to see for that bag that he secured. But we're going to get to a break. We get back. We got Howard Bender joining the show.
Oh, wow.
That Roto Buzz guy. I cannot wait. We'll probably talk a little Wheel of Randomness, one of the segments I love so much on the Fantasy Alarm. We're going to talk to Howard and more. Thank you all right here for being in the chat. You're listening to Lisa and Rick Kamla right here on Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Bettor Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. And then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover.
Okay.
06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander.
Okay.
08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
no way you know.
And Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14.
No way you know all this.
14, also a trick question. I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders, unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
oh my God.
was on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at.
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay, keep on going.
15, you have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. But yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had 2 people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants on Bettor Sports Network.
And we are back right here, Lisa and Rick Kamla, Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network, joined by the one, the only, you can follow at Roto Buzz Guy, our friend Howard Bender. Howard, we are so happy to have you with us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm a little disappointed that we're not in Rick Kamla's rave cave, but okay, no disco lights here.
We changed the look. I tell you what, where's my light? I could probably fire it up for you tonight.
No, I don't want to have a seizure. I'll be okay.
The unsi.
Yeah, that was, you want to stare at that for 3 hours? Okay, Bender? Are you shit stirring? Is that what's happening right now? Are you here to stir up some shit? I had mentioned one of my favorite segments on your show, the Fantasy Alarm, is the Wheel of Randomness. It is just a ton of fun. Everything you do is fun. I know that you have a mad love for baseball, but we were just having the Odell Beckham debate, and I want to bring you in. Better Boss says he will not draft Odell Beckham before the 10th round in a fantasy football draft this season. Rick is he's around maybe 7 or 8. He's not feeling it either. Howard, what says you?
Well, I feel like you've just brought me onto like an episode of Card Sharks where I say, Lisa Ann, I think that number is going to be a little bit higher because
Card
no,
shark.
I'm
Wow, good
actually
reference.
I'm probably in the in the better bosses kind of neck of the woods with this. I don't think it's a great landing spot at all. I'm not really sold on Odell Beckham. I really kind of worry that, why didn't he pick up with anybody, last year? What's going on with him, and
he wasn't 100% ready, and now he's had so much other time to be ready.
Well, then I think then, you know what? Then they got Tyler Huntley a fantastic weapon.
Stop it. Howard, I think this is an indication that Lamar is going to be under center week 1 for the Ravens. You don't see it that way?
No, I do.
All right. Yeah, you got jokes.
I just like stirring the pot.
That's what you do.
Trouble.
What did it?
Look at Lisa. She's so mad at me right now. She's like, Howard, you should have said the 6th round. You were all in on him. He's going to be amazing.
Listen, Howard. I know this baseball thing. I don't know your opinion on the shot clock, the pitch clock. I think it's fantastic because, of course, I'm efficient and I like to save time. But I also know that you are privy to the information that some of the stadiums are losing a ton of money on beer sales and that they're now going to start selling liquor past the 8th inning, which I think is fantastic, especially in the city. None of us are driving. Let us continue to drink at the game.
Yeah, didn't Milwaukee already do that?
Milwaukee already did it, and it makes such perfect sense. It's where they brew beer. It's Milwaukee.
It's very much on brand. Listen, I think that, because I come from 2 different schools, of the whole thing. My first induction to the San Francisco Giants, I was at it.
Well, that was a great story by Howard. I'm
Wow,
sure that
that
we'll
was
get
amazing.
him back. That was a sudden end. He had his baseball bat in his hand, so hopefully nobody was entering his shed where he does his shows.
Wow, like Robert De Niro in the mob movie. He had the bat.
No idea what just happened there.
Wooden bat too. Ouch.
Until we get him back, did you hear this? That the amount of money that's being lost because of concessions is starting to add up. So what teams they're gonna kind of change the school of thought up, and so you didn't have to. We thought maybe you had an intruder that you had to beat out of the shed. You had the bat in your hand.
I was getting all baseball ready. Oh man! So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut out like that.
You were rolling too.
You returning is forgiveness. You're here with us now. Let's continue this. So were you one that was like an Adam Ronis that was kind of a bit of a curmudgeon about the fact that there was going to be a pitch clock?
No, not at all. Listen, I'm all for progress and I'm all for evolution. And, if MLB thinks that shortening the game length is going to help bring fans in, well, then, give it a try. Listen, I sat at many a game pitched by like Andy Pettit at Yankee Stadium. That took like 4.5 hours because it was just, it was constant, adjustments. Nomar Garciaparra was standing there at home plate and he was like, fixing his OCD issues with 72 pulls of a batting glove and Velcro and stuff like that. So I like this, man. It's like, give me the action. Let's get to it. Mano y mano, pitcher versus hitter, and just make it happen. And, I think they'll make some adjustments, things like, maybe the pitcher gets an extra throw over to first base, to sort of, so that we're not, stealing 8 million bases on a regular.
I love it. Steals are up 80% this season. It's making me so excited. I don't know if you win steals heavy in your league, if that's something you focus on, you are absolutely loving life. And as a fan, picture me. I'm 10. I'm waiting to beat the Philly Fanatic. Maybe I'm 8, waiting to beat the Philly Fanatic for the first time. And I'm watching things happen while I'm waiting for the pitch tap. I get to watch stolen bases. That's exciting.
Listen, I think it's great. I really do. I love the fact that, it's not just so reliant on the home run. And I think that it makes it better. You look at a team like the Cleveland Guardians, they're built for speed, not for comfort. The Yankees built for comfort, not for speed. And so you're going to have a lot more, run creation, and you're going to force teams into manufacturing runs more than just waiting for, one guy to, hit a 3-run bomb. So I love it, man. I'm having a great time. I love some of the pitch clock violations that we've seen. I mean,
It's so
do
fun
you
to watch
want
baseball players get in trouble.
nobody wants. I think everybody's big fear really is they don't want a game especially like a playoff game decided on the fact that Rafael Devers just got punched out because he, wasn't looking at the pitcher with 8 seconds to go. So, I get that's the fear, but as we go through it and guys are more and more used to it, I think it's great. I'm in.
Do we all agree that the ghost runner on second base at the top of the 10th inning is the most garbage rule in the history of sports? Can we all at least agree on that?
It's like Kamla's inside my head right now.
I mean,
it's
I don't
horrible.
say the F word.
Horrible.
I effing hate that rule. I mean, I effing hate that rule. It completely cheapens our game. Howard, I've said that I'll meet you in the middle. Okay. Give me 10, 11, and 12 straight up. 13th inning, you want to put a runner on second so we don't go 19 innings and screw up pitching stats for an entire month. I can meet you in the middle on that. But give me 3 extra innings where we play it straight. Because, Howard, they score in the 10th inning all the time. Our relief pitchers are getting shredded. Okay. Boom, got a guy in second base. The closer gets pushed to the 10th inning because of late machinations or whatever. And boom, he gives up 2 runs because the damn runner's at second base. Can we all agree that we hate the ghost runner on second base?
Yeah. Oh, I definitely, it's the one thing that I absolutely hate. And, I notice it screws with you when you're, God forbid you want to bet the under on a baseball game.
Good call.
If that thing ends up going to extras, I mean, how, all of a sudden, like a 2-2 game, all of a sudden becomes an 8-8 game because of that ghost runner starting it off.
Just super quick, LA. I want to also complain about this because Howard, you mentioned it. The pitch clock. Okay, when I'm watching at home, I don't notice it. I don't. Okay, I've usually got 8 TVs going or 4 TVs. Anyway, I'm not noticing. I got a lot of stuff going on, so I'm not like, hey, this pitcher is down to 1 or 2 seconds left. I don't watch it that closely. When I go to a ballpark, I'm not going to like the shortening of the game. I can already tell you that. But the rule that I can't stand is only 2 throws over to first base. And on your 3rd throw, you better pick him off. Otherwise, he gets the bag. Absolutely hate that rule. You want to speed up the game and do all this stuff? Okay, fine. I'll try to go with the flow of that as best I can. But dang it, it is way too easy to get a steal. The game is becoming too predictable. Once that second throw over, boom, everybody in the park knows that runner's going to be off, especially if he's got wheels. I don't like that rule at all.
Well, I mean, I think that they could add another throw to the pitcher to try and.
Boy, this has been something that's going on with Bender. By the way, my friend Jeff says he loves the stolen base aspect of the pitch clock. So it has come down and deflated a bit. At this time last week, it was 84% more steals. Now we're down to 80.8. Wow. So I think it's about the players getting used to the timing. I think everything is starting to settle down, right? Here you are. You're back with us again. You just like to come and go, eh?
I don't know what this is, because I was like so mad at Rick being like, cranky old man there about the stolen bases that I was like, I'm going to slam the door right now. I'm out of here. I don't know how you put up with it, Lisa Ann.
Well, I'm worried about you, Howard, because I know how Adam is, and I'm sure all of these things have just been the bane of his existence. I try to only talk to him about Power, Succession, TV shows, and a couple things that I know won't trigger him.
Oh, and he's being triggered right now also because of the injuries. He's getting waxed with injuries right now, and I'm not gonna lie. We recorded the Cash It podcast today. And I kind of got a little chuckle out of it. I tried not to laugh too hard. But yeah, I mean, he's like shredding up Fab now so that he can.
And let me guess, one of his players was Pirates star shortstop O'Neal Cruz, who fractured his ankle during a slide at home and is going to be out for 4 months. I had a feeling that would affect Adam Ronis very much.
It did, as well as I think the Tim Anderson injury.
Okay.
Eloy Jimenez, that's a favorite of mine and Adams. I expected it going in. I was like, I'm going to take Eloy. I probably shouldn't, but I will. I guess Adam genuinely believed, like when Eloy went on the IL, I think Adam learned that there was no Santa Claus. I really think that that's kind of what it
was. You are hilarious, Howard. You are hilarious. Are you looking right now at Matt Chapman, third baseman from the Blue Jays, and or Ryan Mountcastle, first baseman for the Orioles, with the massive starts that they've gotten off to? And really for Matt Chapman, he's solid, right? But nothing on the back of the baseball card that supports this. I was high on Ryan Mountcastle coming into the year. I've got him on a bunch of my teams. I wasn't expecting this. The guy had 9 RBIs last night, okay? Are you looking at those two guys as sell highs or, I'm onto something. I want to ride this out for the full 162?
It's two very interesting players. Like, I get that, Mountcastle, he's on the way up, and, with Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and what they're bringing to the table over there, Cedric Mullins, I think that there's a lot of hope and a lot of belief in Mountcastle. He's not a guy who I was targeting as anything more than my corner infielder.
Exactly,
I wasn't drafting him as my primary, first baseman. So, I'm cool with Mountcastle. Chapman's a really interesting one because Chapman was always hitting for power. He was never a big average guy, but that stadium in Oakland that he called home, E. coli Stadium, is cavernous. Come on, you're a guy and you're still peeing in a trough with 50 other dudes. Upgrade the bathrooms at the stadium, for crying out loud.
I just go into the stall at that point. I'm not messing around with that. That's barbaric. I'm not doing all that.
I like playing with the noodle salad there at the trough. How about that?
Yeah, I'll just go into a stall.
Oh, stop it!
I'll just go into a stall. I ain't doing that. The old trough, the old urine trough. I ain't doing it, Howard.
But Chapman,
back to Matt Chapman.
Back to Chapman here. Let's stop talking about.
How did we get here?
I don't know, crossing streams, sword fights, all sorts of great stuff here on the show. This is what happens when you put two of the most immature guys in the world in a room together. Sorry that you're gonna bear the brunt of this, Lisa, but I'm a child.
I got you. Not worried about it. Not worried about it.
So Chapman's got great power. We knew he had great power. We thought when he went to Toronto, it was going to get even crazier for Matt Chapman, and it didn't. And he went there, and I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it's the 3-2 beer that they serve in Canada. It's like moonshine to some people.
It is stronger. Their alcohol content is stronger. Yes.
Maybe the exchange rate didn't translate for his home runs at that point, but whatever the case may be, I love the fact that he's off to a hot start because that'll help the batting average. And I think, swinging a bat in that lineup, in that park, I think we're going to see a much better average out of Matt Chapman. Could he end up at 250, 260? Yeah, sure. But I'll take that if it's coming with 30 bombs.
Exactly.
Howard Bender with us right now, who you already probably do follow at Roto Buzz Guy, but if you don't, I don't know what you've been doing. Tampa Bay Rays start out their season 11-0. How long can this streak go? Is this a fluke? What is going on with the Tampa Bay Rays?
They are playing extremely well. Their pitching is ridiculous. Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, even Zach Eflin, who went on the IL with back stiffness, was still doing really beautifully. They bring up Taj Bradley today, their top starter. That game's still going on. I know that Boston was waging a comeback. But as much as I do like what we are seeing with Tampa, and it's.
And there it goes again. I will say this. Howard does live in California, and I will say that California has some of the worst internet. So that could probably just be that. But yeah, Tampa Bay started the season 11-0. We know they do this. We know they have good streaks, but what a hot way to start the season.
The
Rays really haven't played anybody. And so
that's what I was saying. I really don't understand. I'm hardwired in. I don't even know what's going on right now that I'm having these connection issues. I mean, maybe it's my salty personality.
Are you on Chrome browser?
I am on Chrome browser. Should I
Yeah,
not
that
be
makes a
on
difference
Chrome?
too. No, you need to be on Chrome because sometimes I forget and I go on Safari and it doesn't work.
Oh.
It'll get me on, but it won't stay on. Like, yes, up. That's the question. Okay, go on.
But I was saying who Tampa Bay played. I mean, it's Oakland, it's Washington, and it's
Detroit.
And Detroit. Yeah. So like this series against Boston is probably their toughest opponent that they've faced so far. And while yes, they're blowing them out, and that's great. I mean, they haven't faced a pitcher, and I don't even know if I could put Chris Sale into this category. I don't think they faced a pitcher who's better than Eduardo Rodriguez from Detroit. And that's terrible. So
with his 5 ERA, yeah.
So I think that it's going to be, they'll finish this series with Boston. We'll see what happens here with tonight's game. And the series against Toronto is going to be an interesting one for sure. And I think that's going to be, they're going to face, Yusei Kikuchi. They're going to face Alek Manoah. And I think both of those pitchers are, light years ahead of what we've seen.
Howard, I would like to let you know something I let Rick know earlier in the show, that I managed to completely dodge the bullet and not get in a season-long fantasy baseball league this year. I was almost signed up for multiple drafts, but none of them worked with my schedule. I will do DFS and enjoy all of it. But I am, it's just, season-long, so it's a lot. And, I don't want to do a weekly. I have a lot of questions when I get invited into a league. I'd like it to be head-to-head. I don't want it to be lineup changes, like all these things. So I made it. I'm super stoked about it. Like one more summer of freedom for the kid over here without stressing on it and getting into football season. So I want to move away from the diamond that I'm not truly invested in and go back out there to the stadium and talk about your New York Jets. I know your wife is a Giants fan. I know you are a Jets fan. So I want to know what side you're on here, because I would my hunch tells me that you're not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers.
I hate this so much. I really do. This is, because Aaron Rodgers is not going to take the Jets to the Super Bowl. Will he maybe take them to the playoffs? Okay, sure. Fine. He'll go to the playoffs, but they're not going to beat Buffalo or Kansas City. And they're not going to be Jacksonville with how up and coming they are. So, I think that it's a temporary fix here for the Jets. And the big problem that I have also is what do we do beyond Rodgers? Because that dude is not a mentor.
Well, you got Zach Wilson up in the house.
Right, but how is Zach Wilson going to learn when Aaron Rodgers doesn't even want to talk to him? And he won't. That's the thing, is Rodgers has said it. He's like, I will not serve as a mentor. It's just like Brett Favre did with him. I'm not going to train this kid to steal my job. So screw that. And so, yeah, we've got a great offensive line and our defense looks really great. And Garrett Wilson, I love him so much. But, this nonsense of we needed to bring in Alan Lazard. And when we work out this deal with Aaron Rodgers, that Randall Cobb is going to end up being involved in that. What the F is that all about? That's atrocious. And to sit there and hold my Jets hostage like that. I mean, it's terrible. And I'll say this, I'll go even one step further. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If Ezekiel Elliott lands in my backfield too, I'm done with the Jets forever. If I go into this season with Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback and Ezekiel Elliott screwing up my backfield with Breece Hall, I am done with the Jets forever, and I'm going to Jacksonville. I'm going to jump on Mike Dempsey's back like it's a pigback, and I'm staying there.
Feel? And I'm sure you've gone through this with Ronis, but I get it. Okay, Zeke wasn't the player he was, but the fact that we picked up Ronald Jones,
yeah, that's gross.
Oh, it was so gross. I was like, what a
grimy.
horrible piece of news to have to come across my timeline. You should have kept that under wraps. Nobody needed to know. You just cut him from the 52-man roster. But Rojo, the guy who's been lucky enough to get Super Bowl rings without playing a game for a season and then playing minimally the season before. If I'm him, I'm tapping out. I'm leaving on a high note. You know what I mean? I'm out of here. But that was a joke. So that's all I got to say about that. But I didn't want to trigger you. But I had a funny feeling that you are not like me. I'm part of Aaron Rodgers' book club. He does drop a book every Tuesday on McAfee Tuesdays, Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays on McAfee. I didn't think you were in the cahoots that I'm in so deep with this situation.
No, I'm not, because I'm sorry. Aaron Rodgers is the only person who has ever done ayahuasca and come out less cool on the other side.
It's a good one-liner right there. It definitely is. Howard, I want you to invite you to Dr. Kamla's office. Come on in, have a seat. Oh, you're already sitting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Howard, I have.
Does he need to fill out any forms beforehand? Oh, there he goes.
Come on. I had a whole setup going here.
He's stepping out to fill out his forms really quick. As soon as he's finished filling out his forms, we know that they take some time. And by the way, why do they ask you for a social security number in a doctor's office? I refuse. I'm not letting one of your workers in your office. Oh, you know what? Our producer has the answer. He got kicked out of your doctor's office because he didn't have his copay.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's going to be an issue.
I had to go run in the back. If I'm going to the doctor's office, I had to go get some tissues, like some sad tissues, right? So that I could cry.
That may happen here. This is like Gandolfini's therapist in The Sopranos right here. So, Howard, I have experience with divorcing myself from two teams. Okay, so I am here for you if you need tutelage, mentorship, a shoulder to cry on, counseling for divorcing a team. I have successfully divorced myself, Howard, from the Minnesota Vikings, okay, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The two teams that I came up with and was absolutely tortured and let down and heartbroken by them again and again and again and again and again. And so I cut the cord. I'm no longer emotionally and physically and spiritually invested to these entities. And my God, do I have a peaceful sports existence because of that. So, Howard, I want to let you know, I'm not trying to get you unzippered from the New York Jets. I'm letting you know that it is possible to safely and peacefully and successfully divorce yourself from your lifelong hometown team. I'm here to help, Howard.
And I appreciate that. And I very much may be in need of some sort of support like that. And I don't know. I love all things Minnesota. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's tough, but I think.
When's the last time the Vikings won a Super Bowl?
Oh, I don't know. When was the last time the Vikings won the Super Bowl?
It's a trick question. They never have.
Never won it.
Yes. When's the last time the Minnesota Timberwolves won a damn thing?
Oh, see, I'm not a hoops guy. Although I tell you what, I was really
we can still be pals, Howard.
I was rooting for the Timberwolves last night. I really was. They were up. I mean, Jim Bowden is like as nauseating a Laker fan as he is a Cowboys fan. And I tell you, I've never actually sat down and been like, oh, I got to watch this basketball game. My wife thought I was nuts. I was like, I got to watch the fourth quarter. And then, it was just so.
Did Bowden have his way with you on the air about it today, or did he take the high road?
He pretty much took the high road. We had bigger fish to fry today. We had a lot of daytime baseball. Once daytime baseball happens, there's I don't even think we spoke football. We were going to talk a little bit of football, but we stopped and we just stayed with baseball and the wheel.
By the way, we do have some questions for you in the chat. Our listeners here, we've got one right here from Scott. He wants this advice from you, Howard, because he knows you're the real deal. What round does Howard think Calvin Ridley will go as soon as we get closer to draft season?
I mean, I think in all honesty, I think that Calvin Ridley, the closer we are to draft season, could be a second or third round pick.
A darling, right?
Whoa!
I love him. I'm all in. I mean, right now we did a draft on Sirius XM. I don't know, a month or so, like right after the Super Bowl. And not
even, too early to draft, right? That wasn't too
never early. Too early to draft. I got Dempsey and Harris have me looped into some best ball that's going on right now. We're in the fourth round. But
is it a slow draft or a regular draft?
It's a slow draft.
Yeah. I love a slow draft. I love a slow draft.
I just can't. Do you like him, Howard?
No.
Now, also, Howard's at a disadvantage because he's on the West Coast. It is much harder because most draft protocol is East Coast time. So you wake up in a total panic on the West Coast. So it's different. It does make a difference, but I'm not a slow draft person either.
Me neither. I mean, come on. I mean, is it really that hard to coordinate a bunch of idiots for like 12 for like a 2-hour span that a football draft takes?
I agree. Back to you. Sorry.
I don't even know
Did
what
a
I was.
draft? We were talking about Calvin Ridley. We were talking about where
All right.
So
what about Zay Jones? What about Evan Ingram, Howard Bender?
I mean, Evan Ingram, great. That I think he's a fantastic pass catching tight end. I think Zay Jones is relegated to be the number 3 there. You think you've got Christian Kirk? Well, I mean, maybe Kirk will work more out of the slot. You put Ridley on the outside, Zay Jones on the other side of the outside. But I mean, for me, listen, I think I took Ridley, and this was even before they said the suspension was lifted. I think I took him in like the 6th round. So, I think right now, if you can get him in the 5th or the 6th, you're going to be fine. You're going to be happy. But yeah, the closer we get to the season, when camp starts up and you start seeing like, Trevor Lawrence, ready to take another step forward, I think Calvin Ridley's going to reap those benefits. I love this Jags offense this year.
I do as well. Howard, let me bring you into a debate that me and Lisa Ann were having earlier.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this. I hope you take my side, Howard.
We were debating, Saquon Barkley here. He wants to get paid. The Giants don't want to pay him. The tag is on him. Will he hold out or not? All that kind of stuff. And obviously, Austin Eckler has his own issues with the Chargers, and we lost Howard.
Well, you know what? It's a great time for me to do his read. I'll do this right now and see if he comes back. Okay.
Knock it out.
Fantasy Alarm has all the fantasy football and betting content you need to prepare for the NFL draft and the upcoming season. Featuring Britt Flynn's mock draft, rookie scouting reports, NFL team needs, player projections, Discord chat, and more. For a limited time, get the complete NFL package plus DFS playbooks for all sports at an additional 20% off the already discounted annual price with promo code NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. That's promo code NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. I knew that would bring you back, Howard. I knew if I did the Fantasy Alarm read, it would manifest you back. Let's get back to our debate. I understand that running backs don't get paid. I understand their career is much shorter as well. I also understand Daniel Jones could have compromised because he doesn't deserve that much money. And I do believe the Austin Eckler's, the Saquon Barkley's, Austin Eckler is just different, okay? Just different. And we're putting them all in a box, and we're taking the position that has the shortest shelf life for their entire career, and we're haggling them about money to a degree where it's a position where you should not tell your son to want to be a running back. Do not take that position. You have 3 to 5 years, and you're going to stay on a rookie contract. Then they're going to offer you like $10 million. $10 million in New Jersey, where Saquon lives, with taxes. Remember, luxury tax, losing 50%. Then he's going to get other tax. Saquon Barkley's going to end up, after he pays his agent, lawyer, and everything else, like $3.5 million. I will say it again. Girls make that on OnlyFans. I do believe that Saquon deserves to make more money than what girls make on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I definitely listen. I think that, I mean, it's a really tough spot, for him, just because, I mean, obviously the injuries and he showed last year what he could do fully healthy, and he wants to be paid based on that. And the team doesn't want to. And, like you said, running backs just have a shorter shelf life, to what it is. And, listen, the Giants don't want to, they're in a good spot right now that they don't want to get stuck with like a bad contract right now. And I can understand that, like tight ends, pass catching tight ends are going through something very similar right now. Guys like Darren Waller, Evan Engram, they want to be paid like a wide receiver's being paid. But they're not, because of the, quote unquote, the threshold of tight end money that there is. So, I think that, I think what Saquon needs to do is, I think he just needs to, I know you want the long-term security. I think he needs to just say, you know what, give me a higher AAV and give me a shorter deal then. Give me 2 years instead of the 4 or 5 that I want, but overpay me, and whatever. And, we can work something out for the salary cap if something happens to me, but, and we'll talk deferred payments, but, for right now, yeah, I mean, just I think Saquon just needs to take a shorter contract, and he's, obviously not going to want to.
He's not going to want to. Howard, as we bing and bong around, wow, no pun intended with that last word in there. But as we bing and bong around here.
Did you not want me to grab this then?
Do you have your bong handy? That's fantastic.
Show me the gurgler.
Do you ever put ice cubes in it? I like it with the ice cubes in it.
Howard, you are the man. You are the man.
Why?
By the way, you need to hit that right now because guess what? There's a problem with Twitter and no one can reply to tweets. And I think the most cruel thing. Yeah, it's been happening for 30 minutes. By the way, I'm smart enough to go onto Twitter and put in the search, cannot reply to tweets. And I listen to everybody else complain about it. It's just to make sure I'm not alone on an island. There is nothing worse than having people say things to you that you want to respond to, and then you cannot reply to their tweets. So that's happening right now. Elon Musk is doing a terrific job with this.
Oh, yeah.
Just bang up job, isn't it?
Yep.
Bang up job.
I forgot what I was even going to ask. Oh yeah, Howard. Are we about to see a shakeup in the National or in the American League West? Obviously it's early, a couple of weeks in here. I've got the Astros winning the American League, losing to the Padres in the World Series. So I'm not freaking out or sounding alarms here, but we've got two teams above them. They happen to be the Rangers and the Angels. Are you feeling a shifting? I mean, the Astros aren't the team they were last year. We know this. Are you feeling a changing of the guard in the AL West, or do you think when the dust settles, the cream will rise back to the top?
I think the cream will rise back up to the top. I know that Houston's off to a tough start right now. Texas is, they've got good things, but I mean, I don't think they go anywhere unless Jacob deGrom makes, at least 25 to 30 starts. But I love Seattle in that division, actually. I think Seattle's the team that they've got the pitching staff with Kirby and Gilbert and Luis Castillo. They've got the talent to do it there. I think they might be a big bat away from making that move, but I kind of dig them as to compete for the divisional title with Houston. Unfortunately, you want to see Trout and Ohtani in the mix, but I mean, the Angels are just, it's just not going to last for them.
Trash. You put two best players on the team, they can't win a game. Ohtani pitches lights out. He hits light out. Trout can't win a game, but the Rays did win again, and they are now 12-0 on the season. Though we had some interruptions, we don't want to keep you here all night. We know you are a busy man. But Howard, what are you promoting right now, and what should everyone know that we did not cover yet with you?
Oof, I don't.
Well, then that's it. Then we don't have to give him this.
Wow.
Flowers. So we're going to get to a quick break right here. Thank you, Howard Bender, for joining us tonight. You can follow at RotoBuzzBuckGuy. When we get back, we're going to talk about Ricky's props. We're going to see where they are landing, and I'm going to continue to try to respond to treats on the break. It was Elisa and Rick Kamla right here on Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Calvin Ridley yesterday, he applied for reinstatement from the National Football League.
Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. That is crazy potent on offense.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, Ridley's great.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I want in fantasy this year.
I think you're probably right. I think they're just going to get better and better. First off, Peterson's a wonderful offensive mind, a great head coach, and we've seen that and saw that this year as Jacksonville made it to the postseason. And Trevor Lawrence, anybody that questioned whether or not he could play in the National Football League or just how good he was going to be in the NFL, those questions were answered this past season as in the second half of the year. Statistically speaking, he was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. That's how good Trevor Lawrence is. You throw Calvin Ridley into the mix, he's going to be great. Yeah, I think Lawrence is a guy you want. I think Ridley's a guy you want. Clearly, Travis Etienne is going to be one of those early, first-round selections as well, being the dual-threat running back that he is, not only running, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, Keith, and the ability to take something small and take it to the house. Take a 5-yard dump pass, make a guy miss in the open field, and he's gone. I mean, you saw that with Travis Etienne this past season for Jacksonville. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, I think you're going to go from a team in the year span where you wanted no part of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you're looking at fantasy football to where you want as many Jaguars as you possibly can because they're going to be really, really productive. And let's see if they get their tight end back as well, who had
Evan Ingram was great.
And Evan Ingram, who was great this past season.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep that whole core together, their offense is going to be one of the best in football. Like, I legitimately think that they could be one of the best offenses in football.
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, then
and Ridley.
Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, a good offensive line, and you've got Doug Peterson being creative calling.
Right?
And you look at that division. The Colts are a mess.
Yep.
Titans
look like they're on the downslide.
Titans are on the downslide, right? That window is clearly closed. And then you got the Houston Texans.
Years away from relevancy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville could win 11 games next year.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Oh, Howard, you're back. Lisa Ann, Kamla, Howard Bender. I want to say I can still not reply to tweets, so I put out a question. Not being able to reply to tweets is, and I also thought of this, Kyle Kuzma is so happy that 6 hours ago, when he went on his Twitter rampage, he was still able to do that, because right now we cannot reply.
Well, that'll actually kind of save me for the rest of the night. I just wanted to hang around and say a proper goodbye to the two of you. You know how much I love both of you. You know how much I love joining you guys on the show. You know how much I'm going to be super excited about doing much more work with the two of you.
Yes.
In the future. Bettor Sports Network, baby. This is where it's all at, right? Bettor Sports, Fantasy Alarm, yum, give me some. So look for all sorts of great stuff coming up there. It's going to be great. This is like a marriage made in heaven, and we're going to have so much fun doing it. So get in on it. Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network. This is going to be This is going to change the game. This is definitely going to change.
I think if Bettor Boss had walk-up music at this point, it would have to be reunited and it feels so good, right?
I agree with you. Unfortunately, I think the soundtrack in his head most of the time is da, 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 da. That's only because I spent the whole day with the Bettor Boss in meetings all day.
Okay. And how was it for you? Was it intense?
I love him so much.
I love him so much. I had to tell him, though, it's not great to be on a Zoom meeting and walk around with your computer because it makes other people kind of nauseous from the movement, right? He did not know that, so I feel like I did a solid. But I was like, boy, you got to sit because I'm losing it over here, like all over the house. It was a hilarious moment that we had. Steph was dying. Steph Smalls was on the call, so it was just one of those things.
At least he mutes the mic while he's eating. That's a treat.
Yes.
I appreciate that beyond belief. That's important to me.
Dinner sounds are not your thing, Howard. I know this about you. You don't want dinner sounds.
I do not. But before my stupid welfare internet kicks out on me again, I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for having me always.
Right back at you, Howard. Great to have you
as well, Howard. Now we're going to get to Ricky's props. Let's see how Rick Kamla did. We've got the list of props right here. Let's look at the scores. You want to pull them up for you? I'm going to pull them up as well. Let's see what we got here on ESPN. So we have some updates that Heavy T on Air gave us. And Rick, let's first hit DeMar DeRozan at Toronto, under 21.5. How do we do on this one?
He just went over. So, decent diagnosis. And what Chicago has made a push, LA, a big time fourth quarter surge that I did not see in their bag of tricks. It was actually trending late third quarter towards a runaway and hide victory for Toronto, and we're cashing all of these tickets. The Bulls make a very spirited comeback. In fact, they now lead and are in a very good position to win this game in Toronto. They got a 1-point lead, 19.7 seconds left. Pascal Siakam just came back on the Toronto end with a dunk when they were down 3. It was an absolutely amazing play that will go viral with the highlight because it was a crazy cool dunk, but it was kind of dumb because Now you're in the foul game. The shot clock is turned off. So now you're going to send Chicago to the line. They go bang, bang. You're right back in a 3-point hole. They needed 3, not 2 there. Anyway, but DeMar DeRozan, again, is having a tough night, like we talked about. And the metrics coming in were just screaming under on him. But he went over tonight. So we missed on that one.
Well, we missed on that one, but let's talk about Fred VanVleet versus Chicago. Under 18.5 points. That one is a no good one either, right?
It is not a good one. We lost this one on Fred VanVleet's drive to the arena today, okay? Because he came out literally at the beginning of the game, boom, 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 boom.
On his drive to the arena. I love it. I love it.
So look, again, 1 of 11 in the last meeting against Chicago. Patrick Beverley and Alex Caruso all over him. And Fred VanVleet has flushed all of that, and he's having literally an unbelievable game. Although moments ago, he missed, with about 1:13 to go, he missed a 3-ball that would have tied the game. But if you had the over on FVV, you don't care about that. We had the under tonight, so not great. Not great.
All right, let's go to Gary Trent Jr. versus Chicago, over 12.5 points. That one was -125, and I had slipped on that one when I was reading these earlier. How's Gary Trent doing?
Gary Trent is really letting me down. Awesome matchup, low number. All of the numbers screamed over, and so he's going under tonight. Last I checked, LA, he had 2 points. And frankly, I stopped checking. He had 2 points like 3 minutes left in the game. I'm like, all right, this ain't happening. And Gary Trent Jr. just missed a big 3-ball in the corner that could have tied the game for Toronto. So they're getting their opportunities. They're just not hitting them. But it is what it is, man. He averaged 17 against Chicago this year. 12.5's the number. He had a big game the last time he played them. It happens, man. We're having a rough night tonight.
Well, luckily you're in a state where you can't actually gamble, so you're good there. Nikola, you had going over 2.5 assists, and he tackled that early, right?
He did. The most random and weird line that we went with on the night has hit, and it hit early, and not much suspense with that. And so 1 and 3 on the night, definitely hoping for better than that. And when we hit him with the shorts for Thursday's game and Friday's game, we hope for better success.
And here we are. We've got a great rest of the week of watching NBA games, of seeing what's it going to be like a week from today. We're going to see some teams getting buried, some really close neck races, some it's going to go 7. But this is just such a great time when it comes to sports season. You can watch baseball during the day and NBA at night.
The hockey playoffs are right around the corner. The draft in the NFL is later on this month. It's a phenomenal time to be a sports fan. It's not as good as October, LA. October to me is the best month when you've got the NFL, college football, basketball has begun, hockey has begun, the baseball playoffs. I think October is the best month we got. But in this game right here, Toronto down 3. Siakam gets fouled outside the 3-point line by Alex Caruso. And the refs are talking right now. I don't know if they're trying to give him a shooting foul on this. The foul was definitely on the floor. This would be, assuming they're in the bonus, this would be 2 free throws for Pascal, not 3. And I've sound down on the game, so we'll see right. Billy Donovan is pissed, so I'm wondering if they gave him 3 free throws, and we will. Oh man, like, are they actually going to give him? Let's see here, LA. The foul is right there, and then he goes up with the shot. There's no way. I mean, there's no way. If they literally give Pascal Siakam 3 free throws right there, it is the worst call I've seen all year. So I'll let you know here if he goes, 3 attempts from the free throw line, and if he hits them all, he would tie the game with 12 seconds left. This is critical. And obviously, this is a do or die game.
Right.
If you lose, your season is over. If you win, you move on to play Miami in a night or two down in Miami. So big stuff right here, LA. I'll let you know. I forgot your original question right there. I'm sorry for that. I wanted to get into this nitty gritty right here.
We were talking about this time of the year with sports. And
yeah.
You were talking about
next Wednesday, LA, we will have probably 3 games going on. 2 simultaneous. We'll have the nighttime Western Conference game, but it's the first round. We will have a ton of action next Wednesday. I can promise you that.
And also, in 2 weeks, so we got next Wednesday, the following Wednesday, we're going to be really talking about the draft. So the draft is April 27th through the 29th this year in Kansas City. We're already seeing some pieces, some movement of where we thought we thought teams were going to take a guaranteed position. I love all the mock drafts that are going out there of what we think the boards are going to look like. But I'm going to tell you something. As much as the in-person draft is great, I loved the at-home draft where you were inside the players' homes with their families and their people. I thought that was great.
It was cool. It was different. You had Roger Goodell in this tiny little studio. It almost looked like Andy Cohen.
He was in his basement.
Oh my God, that's right.
He was in his basement. He was
That's
in his
right.
basement on his recliner. Yeah. On his lazy boy.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Andy Cohen's Clubhouse. What Happens Live on Bravo. My wife always watches that show. And of course, because she has not, I kind of watch it too. I like Andy Cohen. I think he's a good host. Seems like a really cool dude. By the way, okay, they did award Pascal Siakam 3 free throws on that, which does qualify as the worst call I've seen all year. But I will tell you this. Siakam made the first, missed the second, and missed the third. And so Chicago just came back with a one free throw. They went 1 for 2. Here's Van Vliet with a lean-in 3. It's off the front of the rim. Putback is off by Siakam, and that is it. The Chicago Bulls, LA, go into Toronto and beat the Raptors, sending their season to Cancun, probably sending Nick Nurse maybe to Matt Thomas's Houston Rockets. Okay, Van Vliet into a summer of free agency. Gary Trent Jr., who I'm going to be fading for the rest of my life, into a summer of free agency.
NBA Central just tweeted 18 missed free throws by the Raptors. 18.
There you go. There you go.
Take half of those points, and you have a different narrative at the end of this game.
This was a Tony Romo-esque finish for Toronto. It was. I talked about all these great looks they had for 3 that could have tied the game. Siakam bricking these free throws. Siakam with the brain fart going for a dunk when they're down 3. That's crazy. The way Toronto lost this game is absolutely crazy. I think Nick Nurse is done there. I do. He has said that he's going to take some time after the season to kind of analyze his future and this kind of thing. Either he could be doing that Sean McVay style to get more money from the franchise, or maybe Nick Nurse is ready for something else. Maybe the team is ready for a new voice. But I think some big changes are going to be coming in Toronto. And good for DeMar DeRozan. His daughter coming to hug him right here. And she was like, ew, as she hugged him, probably because he's just dripping with sweat, right? And he's soaking wet. But that's pretty cool. DeMar goes back to Toronto, his old stomping grounds, arguably the best player in Raptors history, and beat them on their court with his new team. That's a pretty cool story, man.
I'm also seeing a little conspiracy here. We don't know if Drake was in the arena, which he normally is when the Raptors play at home, but we do know Lil Wayne was there. So the conspiracy right now on Twitter is if Drake wasn't there and Wayne was there. Is that why this game ultimately ended the way that it did?
I didn't see Drake. I didn't. Now, I can't say that I was watching, I'm working with you and catching some glimpses here. I saw Charles Oakley sitting in one of the Fat Cat courtside seats, but I did not see Drake. Now, that does not mean he wasn't there. I just didn't see him.
Was Wayne courtside?
I didn't see him either.
Oh, boy. Because, I has to be courtside. I mean, Drake could be like Coachella's this weekend. So maybe he's already out there setting up his stage, but this could throw everything off. And they were showing DeMar DeRozan's daughter during the game because she was like she was yelling her head off when then the other team was at the free throw line. So she was just being a nuisance and having a ton of fun with it, which is adorable. But here we are. We've got another defined matchup coming at us. So now we know. Let's see. Who do the Bulls play?
Miami. They will play the Miami Heat. In LA, if you have an idea of who's going to win this game, I'm all ears. Okay? Because I picked Miami to beat Atlanta, and that didn't happen. I picked Toronto to beat Chicago, and that didn't happen. And so what's going on here is that we had Mike Breen on NBA radio a couple of days ago, and he said this is the most unpredictable season he's ever witnessed. Okay? Quite a statement, right? And Mike Breen would know. He's covered the game for over 30 years as a Hall of Famer. I don't disagree with him. And so, guys, it's treacherous out there. It is. I like OKC. I'm going with the dog tonight. Based on how it's been going for your boy, I don't know. Maybe throw $1 million on New Orleans here. But these playoffs are wildly inconsistent and unpredictable so far. Toronto was a 6-point fave. They lost straight up. That's not even close. They were very...
You're familiar with arenas and love
on the stretch.
how much help does it get that Miami gets to take advantage of home court advantage here? Do you see a difference with their arena? Do they play better at home?
Typically, yes, but you watched the Hawk game last night, right? And you saw that first quarter, right? And how lame and flat and lazy and slow and old and boring and all those words the Heat were. Like, guys, the game has started. What is going on here? Do you understand the importance? You're not in a playoff series where you can actually, if you want, I guess, trick off a game and still, rally and come back and all that kind of stuff. But no, man, this is a play-in tournament game, okay? You're not facing elimination tonight, but you will be sent to the elimination bracket if you lose this game. Mystifying to me, LA. So I don't know. I really don't. And looking at numbers at this point isn't going to do anybody any good, okay? Because
we've got a couple of things here in the chat that I want to kind of go through before we wrap up the show. So we've had a little bit of conversation about every sport, which has been awesome tonight because we're getting the different engagements as well, right? So Scott says that he is going to be taking Travis Etienne as my RB1 in most bet balls. What's your take on that there?
I mean, I think he's overvaluing Travis Etienne. I like Travis Etienne a lot. But the RB1, over Derrick Henry, over Jonathan Taylor. And yeah, I appreciate, knock yourself out. Go take Travis Etienne #1 at the running back position. But
and then we have another message here. And this one's from Byron, who always joins the show. Thank you, Byron, for always joining us. He said he'd take Najee over Travis.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too. Pittsburgh has helped their offensive line. I think the whole outfit is going to be better. Second year for Kenny Pickett. And I like Najee. I don't think he was healthy at the beginning of last year. Matter of fact, it's fact he wasn't. The reports say that. The eye test says that. But then he started to get it cranked up a little bit and had a better second half. Najee, obviously, a freak of nature / robot / mutant at Alabama. Okay. This guy is one of the biggest physical marvels I've ever seen at the position. So I think he's going to have an outstanding year this year.
And to answer your question, Scott, it seems a 50-50 mix. If you go into the search Twitter and put can't respond to tweets, you'll see thousands of people complaining about the same issue. But then you'll also see people that are able to respond to tweets. So I'm getting a mixed bag of everything. Twitter has been the most kind of irregular product in the past, since Elon took over a year ago.
That's your guy. So, it's what else do we, I'm kidding.
He's not my guy. He's not my guy. I personally think we're going to have no Twitter by this time next year. So that's something I think everybody needs to prepare for. I've signed up for every new social media platform that's been coming out and launching so I could reserve my name so I can learn how to use these platforms. But this is going to become worse and worse and worse. And I think Elon's a businessman. Why wouldn't he just file bankruptcy before the end of this year and be done with it? He continues to fire employees. She's getting sued right now from some previous employees, getting sued from some. So there's so much going on with it. And then the tech support is not there because when you let go of 80% of your staff, obviously things are going to fall through the cracks. So for me, I'm already mentally preparing myself on what else we're going to use as a feed because we like the stream of Twitter. We like that we can get constant interaction. We like that we get sports updates. Instagram is not utilized the same way. TikTok is not utilized the same way, but I don't see this long. I see this as the exact same vibe as when when MySpace was getting phased out. I see this as it just gets worse every day.
Why would you, pardon me. Do we know what he spent on Twitter? Like, why would you buy an entity and then ruin it? Like, why?
Because I think he thinks he's, what did Twitter cost? I think it was 44 price. Okay. So I just think he thought he could do this. Yeah, I was right. 43 billion.
Whoa. $43 billion and he's hacking it to shreds?
Yeah. Oh, we are up. but Twitter has been doo-doo lately. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our producer. Thank you to our guests. We had Matt Thomas joining us tonight, Howard Bender joining us tonight, Heavy T on air. You're amazing, Rick Kamla. Next week, new playoff conversation. We'll be
Let's
talking.
go, LA.
Get ready to best ball draft with all of us. We thank all of you for being in the chat. Share this with your friends. Follow on social media at Bettor Network and at Fantasy Alarm. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your night. I hope that by tomorrow I can reply to some tweets because that's what I miss the most right now. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining us right here. Lisa Ann, Rick Kamla, Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.